Yo legends! Welcome back to the channel. Grab your headphones and lock in, because today's story is on another level. Want the next chapter? Drop a comment below, and if the legend continues, I'm bringing it straight to you. Disclaimer: I do not claim ownership of this story. All rights belong to the original creators. Note: I'm constantly tweaking the settings to make it as immersive as possible. The timeline where Goku destroys Earth. Chapter 41: The Legendary Super Saiyan. These aliens are not Saiyans. From Vegeta's perception, they were just some miscellaneous soldiers with a combat power of about 1,000, and the aura on their bodies was not the aura of the Saiyans at all. But there was indeed a Saiyan on the spaceship behind them. As Vegeta stared at the spaceship, the alien soldiers knelt in front of him and shouted, "Meet Prince Vegeta." "Okay." Vegeta frowned. "Are they here to find me? Who are you? What do you want to do?" "We've been looking for you, Prince Vegeta." At this moment, the Saiyan hiding in the spaceship finally appeared. But when he saw the man's face clearly, Vegeta was immediately stunned. "Paragus." He recognized the other person. In the fused memory, he should be Colonel Paragus, the former battlefield commander on planet Vegeta in a parallel world. "Oh, Your Highness Prince Vegeta. I'm deeply honored that you remember me." Paragus knelt on one knee in front of Vegeta. "Your Highness, I have been looking for you since the destruction of planet Vegeta. Today I finally found you." "Find me?" Vegeta's frown did not relax. "Prince Vegeta, in order to revive the Saiyan Empire, I have built some planets called New Vegeta. I came here this time to welcome you to be the king of New Vegeta." Paragus said with great joy, "Your Highness, the reputation of the Saiyans has been silent for too long. But as long as you lead us, the reputation of the Saiyans, the strongest fighting race, will surely resound throughout the universe." Humph. Vegeta listened but was dismissive. Regardless of whether this world was illusory or not, the real Vegeta was actually not interested in the Saiyan Empire at all. Seeing this, Paragus suddenly said, "Prince Vegeta, even if you don't want to rebuild the Saiyan Empire, don't you have any interest in fighting the legendary Super Saiyan?" "The legendary Super Saiyan?" Vegeta's eyes widened. "Yes. Recently, a legendary Super Saiyan appeared in the southern galaxy. He possessed extremely terrifying power and destroyed countless planets in the southern galaxy. Recently, he seems to have appeared near our new Vegeta planet, and several planets around him have been attacked by him. This time, in addition to hoping to welcome the return of His Majesty the Prince, I also hope that you can teach that devil a lesson." "The legendary Super Saiyan?" Vegeta finally remembered exactly which time and space this illusion was constructed based on. In Vegeta's understanding, in most of the Dragon Ball universe, the Super Saiyan form that he and Son Goku mastered is the Super Saiyan in Saiyan legend. But in some universes, the legendary Super Saiyan does not actually refer to the Super Saiyan form of him and Son Goku, but specifically refers to a special mutated Saiyan bloodline. This bloodline can also be called Demon Saiyan. The natural fighting power of Saiyans with this bloodline increases with age, and they have extremely strong recovery abilities. The most important thing is, the Super Saiyan form they transform into is completely different from ordinary Super Saiyans. Not only are they more powerful, but their personalities become distorted and violent because of the transformation, just like real demons. And this illusion in front of us is constructed based on the time and space where the legendary Super Saiyan Broly exists. And the Paragus in front of him is the father of the legendary Super Broly. By this point, Vegeta already understood everything clearly. The unbeatable opponent that Mr. Popo mentioned is probably Broly. "Mr. Bobo, you have given me a big problem." Vegeta couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He has fully remembered how powerful Broly is in this time and space. His strength is simply beyond what Vegeta's current body can handle. But even so, Vegeta was not afraid at all. If he doesn't have the courage to face even this imaginary challenge, how can he face the truly terrifying difficulties in reality? The flame of struggle burned in Vegeta's eyes. Okay, Paragus, I can go over and take a look. Thank you very much. Paragus looked delighted and immediately led Vegeta towards the spaceship. Father. Because of his concern for Vegeta, Trunks had to follow. Also traveling with them were Master Roshi, who forced his way onto the spaceship because he was drunk and crazy, and Sun Gohan, Krillin and Wulong, who were accidentally implicated by Master Roshi. New planet Vegeta is located in the distant southern Milky Way, but the technology used by Paragus spacecraft allowed them to get here from Earth in just one day. On the spaceship, Trunks was full of suspicion towards Paragus, and his eyes were always filled with vigilance. Finally, he couldn't help but remind him, Father, I'm afraid this Paragus has bad intentions towards you. I know. Vegeta stood in front of a porthole, looking at the scenery outside, and replied, Father, you know. Trunks was stunned. Paragus asked me to go to New Vegeta because he wanted me to die there, because a comet will hit that planet soon. Since you knew that, Father, why did you go? If I tell you that I have a reason to go, Trunks, will you believe me? Ugh, forget it. I have my own reasons anyway. You don't need to know. Closing his eyes, Vegeta mentally prepared himself for the upcoming fierce battle. The spacecraft then landed on new planet Vegeta. Looking around, one can see that the planet is in a state of disrepair. At the spacecraft landing point, one can see tall buildings rising from the ground in the distance. There were also many short green cosmic people moving stones everywhere, creating a busy construction scene. But Vegeta already knew that all these scenes were actually arranged by Paragus in order to deceive him. Even those green spacemen were just slaves captured from the satellite of New Vegeta. As soon as he got off the spaceship, Paragus led the group to a castle on a distant mountain. Just in front of the castle, a group of miscellaneous soldiers composed of villains from all over the galaxy had lined up in 2 rows on both sides of the road, shouting Vegeta's name and welcoming his arrival. Prince Vegeta, this is the palace I built for you. Please stay here until you find the legendary Super Saiyan. No need to bother. I've already found the legendary Super Saiyan. Vegeta looked meaningfully at a tall and thin young man standing by the road. He was a black-haired man with a naked upper body, tall and strong, and a metal headband on his head. Chapter 42 It Works. The result of cultivation. Following Vegeta's gaze, Paragus immediately realized who he was talking about. Prince Vegeta, stop kidding. He is my son Broly. His combat power is less than 1. How can he be the legendary Super Saiyan? Hello Prince Vegeta, I am Broly. Broly also greeted politely. Vegeta sneered. If he didn't know the truth, he might have been fooled by Paragus. But in fact, Broly's weak image at the moment is simply because his energy is suppressed by the energy suppression device in the shape of a headband on his forehead. Because of Broly's powerful strength, Paragus asked alien scientists to invent this control device. Not only can his power be suppressed at normal times, but in critical moments, Broly's actions can also be controlled through the electric current generated by the control device. However, this control device also has its limits, so Paragus doesn't dare to let him take action easily. According to Vegeta's memory, Broly will continue to disguise himself until Son Goku appears. Then he will go berserk and reveal his true identity out of anger towards him. Unfortunately, Vegeta can't wait any longer. Now that the target has been found, let's fight. The next moment, Vegeta condensed a Kigong bullet emitting strong light in his hand and threw it at Broly. With a loud bang, a violent explosion occurred instantly where Broly was. The flames of the explosion instantly engulfed Broly and the alien soldiers near him. Prince Vegeta, what are you doing? Paragus shouted. Father. On the side, Trunks, Son Gohan and others also widened their eyes, not understanding why Vegeta suddenly launched an attack. Open your eyes, you idiots. That Broly is the legendary Super Saiyan. Vegeta shouted while holding his breath. and according to the method he remembered, he transformed into a Super Saiyan for the first time in this world. At the same time, Trunks and the others suddenly discovered that Broly, who had just been attacked by Vegeta, had not lost his aura. Not only that, his energy continued to rise at a terrifying rate, as if he was turning into a Super Saiyan. At this time, the smoke dissipated, and a tall figure was seen floating in the air where the explosion had just occurred. It was Broly who was attacked. Broly? He's not dead? Trunks and the others gasped. Paragus had clearly said before that Broly's combat power was less than 1. But he managed to survive at the hands of Vegeta, whose normal combat power was enough to crush Frieza. What on earth is it? Super Saiyan? Suddenly, Sun Gohan exclaimed. It turned out that when he saw Broly at this moment, his appearance was very different from before. At this time, all of Broly's hair stood up, and except that the hair turned purple-red, everything looked like their Super Saiyan transformation. Is he really a Super Saiyan? Is this what the legendary Super Saiyan looks like? Hearing the conversation between Trunks and the others, Vegeta shook his head. No, this isn't his true form. Vegeta has already seen that Broly's energy is actually suppressed by the control system. Because he is unable to completely explode, Broly has not yet completely transformed into a Super Saiyan. Instead, he entered a special form called Mimic Super Saiyan. But even so, the power he burst out at this moment was actually greater than that of Trunks. Prince Vegeta, you are mistaken. Broly is not the legendary Super Saiyan. Paragus wanted to argue, but Vegeta ignored him and flew straight towards Broly. Let me see, what is the power of the legendary Super Saiyan? Vegeta yelled and swept his leg across Broly's neck. Just this simple kick was enough to send Broly flying. Vegeta landed on the ground, stomped his feet hard, and caught up with Broly in an instant. He raised his foot high and kicked him in the back again. Boom. A burst of energy burst out of Vegeta's body again, making him flash above Broly like lightning. Then he turned in the air and kicked Broly into the ground. Boom! With a dull thud, Broly's figure disappeared from the ground. Where he fell, the ground cracked radioactively, with cracks several kilometers long. What? Paragus was shocked, as if he didn't expect Vegeta to be able to completely suppress Broly. Klin and the others were also stunned. Trunks, why do I feel like Vegeta has improved again? Krillin asked puzzledly. Trunks swallowed and nodded in agreement. It seems so. Dad and Cell at that time were like two different people. Damn it, Vegeta. Don't you know what you're doing? When Paragus heard their words, his face gradually twisted with anger. Vegeta turned his head and looked at him and said, Have you finally broken through your disguise? Paragus gritted his teeth and no longer concealed his resentment towards Vegeta. Damn you, I was just afraid that Broly's power would get out of control and destroy the entire universe, so I wanted to kill you with a comet. Do you really think that Broly's power is only this much? Broly, go ahead and kill Vegeta. Paragus raised the controller in his hand towards the place where Broly fell, releasing some of the suppressing force. The next moment, a terrifying aura suddenly burst out. Broly was seen floating up from the ground, with a circle of terrifying air waves around him. Without the suppression of the controller, his aura quickly expanded and he completely transformed from a pseudo-Super Saiyan to a Super Saiyan. Although the controller on his forehead was still working so that his hair did not turn completely golden but only blue-green, the aura that Broly exuded at this moment was undoubtedly that of a Super Saiyan. Seeing this, Vegeta was not panicked. Because of the previous attacks, he also noticed that he now seemed to be much stronger than his past self at the same period. Vegeta even felt that with his current strength as a Super Saiyan 1, he had the courage to challenge Cell's second form. Is this the result of Vegeta's training in the Heavenly Palace during this period of time? There is a chance. It seems that with my current situation, defeating Kakarot is not impossible. Kakarot? Broly seemed to have heard Vegeta's mumbling, and was not reacting to any of the names in his words. Kakarot. Broly suddenly let out an angry roar, and along with the anger in his heart, his aura actually increased again. Feeling the pressure coming from the controller, Paragas's forehead was covered with sweat. Why did his controller seem unable to suppress Broly's power? Broly, you can't increase your power. Control your power. Stop. Stop now. Paragus frantically manipulated the controller, trying to suppress Broly's energy, but it seemed to be useless. Finally, cracks appeared on the controller on Broly's forehead. This is dead. Be careful. Sensing Broly's change, Trunks quickly reminded Vegeta loudly. But in fact, Vegeta had already noticed something was wrong. Broly's combat power has increased wildly again, and the speed of improvement this time seems to be even crazier than before. It's almost reaching the strength of Lightning Cell in Vegeta's memory. Chapter 43 Bloodline Suppression. Illusion restarted. Roar. Puff puff. Exclamation. For some unknown reason, countless lightning flashes suddenly appeared in the sky of New Vegeta planet. These lightning lights tore through the sky and turned into long golden snakes that slashed straight to the ground. Amidst the lightning and thunder, Broly's appearance gradually changed. The golden aura that originally belonged to the Super Saiyan gradually turned into a green-yellow color. The strong body grew rapidly and muscles all over the body swelled up quickly. At the same time, Broly's pupils gradually disappeared, and an aura of cruelty and brutality emanated from his body, as if he was the incarnation of the god of destruction. The next moment, Broly's pupils gradually lost their color. A momentum that made everyone feel terrified suddenly erupted. Everyone at the scene felt as if they were in a stormy ocean, being dragged to the bottom of the sea by endless water, suffocating to death and unable to breathe. Ha ha ha. Vegeta, you're dead. You're all dead. No one can stop Broly now. He won't stop until he destroys this universe. Paragus shouted in despair when he saw the controller on Broly's forehead completely shattered, and he completed the final transformation and became the legendary Super Saiyan. This Vegeta looked on in shock as Broly floated up from the spot. At this moment, Broly's pupils could not be seen, and only a bloodthirsty light remained in his eyes. Along with his extremely burly body, he really looked like a demon. Is this the legendary Super Saiyan? Vegeta was confused. He didn't know why. He had clearly seen this figure in the fused soul memory, but after seeing it with his own eyes, he actually had an indescribable feeling in his heart. Facing Broly in front of him, Vegeta found that he was completely unable to control his body. His energy was draining away, and his strength was gradually disappearing. In the end, he involuntarily exited the Super Saiyan state, and was barely supporting his body with just one breath. Why is this happening? Vegeta looked at the others and found that no one at the scene, except himself, seemed to have such a big reaction. Even Trunks and Son Gohan, who were weaker than him, did not lose control of their bodies and continued to fly in the air. Vegeta, do you feel that? Paragus laughed bitterly and said, "It seems that the pure Saiyan blood in you has been sensed. The legendary Super Saiyan, this is the blood of the true Saiyan royal family. In front of the real royal family, you, a fake royal family, will of course be suppressed." Royal blood? What does it mean? Vegeta was unwilling to believe Paragus's lies. Neither he himself nor his fused soul had ever heard of any other Saiyan royal bloodline besides Vegeta's family. How could he possibly believe such nonsense? I'm Vegeta. I won't give in to anyone. Vegeta shouted and transformed back into a Super Saiyan. Recalling his training at the Celestial Palace, Vegeta quickly found a way to control his body again. But this seems to be just a stopgap measure, because there seems to be a special feeling for Broly in his blood. This feeling made Vegeta's body completely out of control of his consciousness, and he instinctively wanted to surrender to Broly. How could such a thing happen? Damn it. So that's how it is. Vegeta seemed to understand a little bit why in the memory of his fused soul from another world, When another Vegeta saw Broly, he completely lost his fighting spirit and was unable to even resist. At first he thought that this was just because Vegeta in that world was too cowardly and lost his fighting spirit when he met a strong enemy. But now it seems that this is not the case. But there really is something in the blood of Vegeta from these different worlds that causes them to be suppressed when they meet the legendary Super Saiyan. It's like a frog seeing a poisonous snake. Vegeta? Broly tilted his head slightly, a sadistic smile on his face. Weren't you very self-righteous just now? Come again. Broly suddenly moved his feet and rushed directly towards Vegeta father. Trunks yelled, transformed into a Super Saiyan and rushed forward, wanting to fight Vegeta together. Get out of the way. Vegeta kicked Trunks away and then faced the enemy head-on. He knew that with Broly's strength, it would be useless even if Trunks came. Even though it was just an illusion, he didn't want Trunks to get hurt. Vegeta collided head-on with Broly and suddenly felt an irresistible force and was almost knocked away. Fortunately, he immediately controlled his breathing and was able to stabilize his body. Broly! Vegeta yelled and started a close-range attack with Broly without stopping. In terms of strength alone, Vegeta knows very well that he cannot be Broly's opponent, but he is no longer the Vegeta who only knows how to act straightforwardly. Son Gohan, Master Roshi, and Mr. Popo. These people's guidance to Vegeta has completely changed his fighting style. Although he was able to rely on his skills to tie with Broly at one point. But dealing with Broly's counterattack is no easy task. Just a few minutes later, Vegeta began to breathe heavily. The legendary Super Saiyan, what kind of transformation is this? Vegeta cursed while breathing heavily as his full-strength attack was easily neutralized for who knows how many times. Judging from the appearance alone, Broly's transformation is very similar to the Super Saiyan 3 that Trunks has mastered. But Vegeta knew that there was an obvious essential difference between the two. Because the Broly in front of him not only has amazing strength and defense, but his speed is not slowed down at all by his huge muscles. On the contrary, ever since Broly transformed into this form called Super Broly, he has had to constantly fight against the fear deep in his heart and cannot even exert 100% of his strength. Vegeta, I'm tired of playing. Okay? Vegeta was stunned when Broly suddenly spoke. The next moment, Broly's speed increased again and he grabbed his head mercilessly. Like a falling star, Broly grabbed Vegeta and fell straight to the ground. Rumble! The ground was cracked by the impact and smoke filled the air. Vegeta lay helplessly on the ground, feeling as if all the bones in his body were broken. However, Broly jumped high the moment he hit the ground and flew over Vegeta's head. Ha 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 ha, Vegeta, is that all? Trash is trash after all. Die! There was a flash of light in Broly's hand, and he threw an orange energy ball casually. When the small energy ball was about to approach Vegeta, it suddenly grew larger and expanded to a range of 10 meters. The next second, Vegeta's thoughts seemed to stop and ended with a sharp explosion. But at this moment, the whole world suddenly came to a standstill with Vegeta's death. Then, everything started spinning and time began to flow backwards. Okay. After an unknown amount of time, Vegeta suddenly opened his eyes. Then I realized, how did I get back to Earth? Looking at the blooming cherry trees all around him, he found himself back to the place where he had just arrived in the fantasy world. Chapter 44, Start over and fight Broly again. How did I end up back here? Correct. Vegeta remembered that he seemed to have died before. He died at the hands of Broly, who had transformed into a super-powered Broly and was at full power. Just thinking back to what happened before, everything seems like a dream. Vegeta, come over here and sing with us. Suddenly, Bulma's voice reached my ears. The wife was seen standing next to future Trunks holding a little Trunks in her arms. Vegeta shook his head, and sure enough, everything was exactly the same as it had happened before. He really returned to the time when he first entered the illusion. Then next, Paragus will come to the Earth. And if he cannot defeat Broly, even if he is killed, will the whole world repeat itself infinitely? And many more so, if I can't defeat Broly, then I won't be able to return to the real world. Am I going to be trapped in this illusion forever? How is this possible? As Vegeta thought about this, he felt Paragus's aura approaching again. History is indeed repeating itself. However, now that he knew that his life would not be in danger even if he died in this world, Vegeta completely let go. The legendary Super Saiyan? This time, let's use a different method to deal with him. After that, everything was just like when Vegeta first came to this world. After pretending to be unaware and accepting Paragus' invitation, Vegeta once again came to new planet Vegeta with Trunks and others. This time, Vegeta did not immediately expose Broly's true identity. Instead, he pretended to be completely unaware and cooperated with Paragus, who was trying to buy time until the comet arrived. After he falsely claims to have discovered the legendary Super Saiyan, he takes Broly around the southern galaxy. During this time, Vegeta was also constantly observing Broly. He found that under normal circumstances, Broly actually had no effect on him. It seems that only after Broly becomes the legendary Super Saiyan, the royal blood in Vegeta's body begins to feel suppressed by Broly. Thinking back to what Paragus said in the previous reincarnation, Vegeta couldn't help but feel a little strange. Why is it that only the royal blood in his body would be afraid of the legendary Super Saiyan? Wouldn't hybrids like Trunks and Sun Gohan be affected? With doubts, Vegeta returned to new planet Vegeta. As soon as he got off the spaceship, he saw the Sun Wukong of this world. Yo Vegeta! Kakarot! When Vegeta suddenly saw Son Goku's face, he was a little dazed for a moment. More than 10 years have passed since I traveled through the world. This was the first time he saw Sun Wukong's face. In an instant, Vegeta directly mixed the Goku in front of him with the evil Kakarot from his world. Kakarot! Vegeta punched him and even turned into a Super Saiyan. Sun Wukong was also shocked. Why did Vegeta suddenly attack him out of the blue? And this punch didn't seem like a joke at all. In a hurry, Sun Wukong also turned into a Super Saiyan and hurriedly caught the punch. Vegeta, what are you doing? Father, father. On the side, Vegeta and Son Goku's sons also exclaimed. Vegeta suddenly woke up at this time. The person in front of him was Kakarot, who thought he was an Earthling, not the Kakarot from his world who thought he was a Saiyan. Vegeta released his hand and said coldly, Kakarot, are you here to look for the legendary Super Saiyan as well? Yes. Sun Wukong breathed a sigh of relief. You guy, I thought you were really going to do it just now. You are not my enemy now. Our real enemy is him. Vegeta pointed a finger at Broly. Your Highness, what are you talking about? Paragus gave a wry smile and tried to get away with it again. But what he didn't know was that at this time, Broly's eyes were fixed on Son Goku's face. According to the setting of this world, when Broly was a baby, Son Goku, who was also a baby, slept next to him. As a result, Sun Wukong was so scared that he cried non-stop because Broly's combat power exceeded 1. As a result, his crying actually scared Broly, which left a huge shadow on Son Goku. Now seeing Son Goku appear in front of him, Broly's anger immediately swelled uncontrollably. Along with his anger, his aura instantly doubled, so that everyone at the scene immediately became alert. This energy, are you the legendary Super Saiyan I'm tracking? Son Goku immediately recognized Broly's aura. He was previously commissioned by King Kai to investigate the legendary Super Saiyan that was wreaking havoc in the southern galaxy. And on those destroyed planets, the remaining breath that Sun Wukong felt was exactly that of Broly in front of him. Oops! Seeing that his son seemed to be on the verge of going berserk, Paragus immediately wanted to activate the controller to calm Broly down. But how could Vegeta, who already knew the truth, Let him continue to delay time. With a flash, Vegeta appeared in front of Paragus. Your Highness, what do you want to do? Paragus asked with a look of horror. My helpers have arrived. Let the battle begin now. What? Paragus was stunned for a moment, and before he could understand what Vegeta meant, a beam of light pierced through his chest. After getting rid of Paragus, Vegeta immediately turned into a Super Saiyan and was on full alert. Get ready to fight. Broly is a Super Saiyan. What? Everyone around was shocked. But soon, they saw amazing changes in Broly. Without the control of the controller, no one could suppress Broly's anger. He quickly transformed into a mimic Super Saiyan first, and then entered the Super Saiyan form. Finally, when the legendary Super Saiyan reappeared, the fear that Vegeta had experienced before came back to him. Vegeta, why is this guy's energy so terrifying? After hearing what Son Goku said, Vegeta immediately asked, Kakarot, don't you feel anything wrong with Broly? What's wrong? His aura is wrong, right? Why does his Super Saiyan form seem completely different from ours? Sure enough, Kakarot couldn't feel it either. Vegeta completely confirmed that he seemed to be the only Saiyan present who would be affected by Broly's super form. Kakarot. Broly showed a cruel smile on his face. I will smash you to pieces. With Broly's actions, Vegeta's second battle officially begins. Chapter 45. What is Kai? Mr. Bobo's explanation. The world was spinning in front of Vegeta's eyes again, and when he opened his eyes again, he was back on Earth. The fantasy world restarted again. In the last illusion, Vegeta clearly chose to join forces with Son Goku, but he didn't expect that he still lost. As the legendary Super Saiyan, Broly's strength can only be described as terrifying, even if he joins forces with Sun Wukong. In addition to the two Super Saiyans, Trunks and Son Gohan, there was also Piccolo who came on his own in a spaceship. Even if 5 people joined together, they would still be unable to achieve victory. The gap between the two sides is really too big. Perhaps it was even because of the presence of Son Goku that the power Broly unleashed this time was even stronger than the last time Vegeta challenged him alone. But Vegeta did not completely lose his confidence. Because compared to the first illusion, this time when facing Broly's super form, Vegeta found that he had some resistance, and he was no longer completely unable to control the energy in his body like the first time. Maybe if I try a few more times, I'll have a chance. So next, Vegeta tried to challenge Broly many times. But after failing 3 times in a row, Vegeta finally figured out one thing. That is, while he was gradually recovering his strength, Broly was also getting stronger. It seems that every time the illusion restarts, Broly's power will become higher than the last time. Vegeta didn't know whether this was because of the illusion or because Broly's supernatural bloodline could continuously improve his strength in battle. Every time he thought he had hope, Broly would kill them all with even greater power. After the 7th attempt, Vegeta finally realized that this wasn't going to work. If he cannot improve his own strength, it will be impossible to defeat Broly. So this time, he directly rejected Paragus' invitation. After watching the other party leave the Earth, Vegeta immediately flew towards the Temple of Heaven. His target is the Spirit Time House on the Temple of Heaven. Right now, that is the only place that can allow him to improve his combat power in a short period of time. Vegeta flew up to the temple and immediately saw the familiar palace. As soon as he landed, he saw the familiar dark figure standing in front of him, as if he had been waiting for him for a long time. Mr. Bobo, Vegeta, what are you doing here? Mr. Popo's voice remained the same as in reality, as if he were a puppet, making Vegeta unsure whether Mr. Popo in front of him was also just a fake character in the illusion. Mr. Bobo, I want to borrow the spirit time room. There is no spiritual time house here, what? Vegeta was stunned. Isn't there a spirit time chamber in the Temple of the Gods? I clearly went in there before I killed Cell in this world. That's the real world, but this is a fantasy world. Mister, Bobo said. Illusion? Are you the real Mister? Bobo? No, I'm just the projection of Mister. Bobo in reality in the illusion. Popo put his hands behind his back and explained, Vegeta, this illusion tests your application of what you have learned in past training. It's meaningless to rely on training to increase your strength in order to defeat Broly. Vegeta frowned. You said it lightly, but Broly's energy is far superior to ours. If we don't improve our strength, there is no way we can beat him. Just because I can't match Broly's energy, I can't win? Mister, Popo did not answer Vegeta's question, but asked him a question abruptly. Vegeta was stunned for a moment, not knowing how to explain. In his understanding, the strength of Kai is equivalent to the concept of the combat effectiveness of Frieza's army. At the same time, it is equivalent to the concept of strength. Since their Kai cannot match Broly's, their strength is naturally weaker than Broly. If that's the case, how can we win? Mister, Popo shook his head. Vegeta, have you forgotten your training so quickly? Your Kai may be weaker than Broly's, but that doesn't mean you will definitely lose. Because what affects your strength is not only the strength of your Kai, but also the control of your Kai. Even though Broly has a very strong Kai, he doesn't know how to use it. If his Kai is compared to 100, he can only use 70 at most. And your Kai can reach a maximum of 80. Although it's not as good as Broly's, if you can fully exert your Kai, you may be able to defeat him. Having said that, Mister, Bobo suddenly raised his head and looked towards the sky. That seems to be all I can say. Vegeta, try to recall what you learned during your training. Mister, Bobo. Vegeta opened his eyes and finally realized something. He looked up and saw that there was a new sun in the sky above the earth. He didn't know when it appeared. That's not the sun. That turned out to be Broly. At this moment, Broly, who has turned into the legendary Super Saiyan, is actually above the earth. The second sun that Vegeta saw was the energy bomb that Broly threw to the ground. Soon, Broly's green energy bomb hit the ground. The terrifying energy instantly pierced through the Earth's crust and then penetrated the planet's core. When the hot magma emerges from the gap with thick smoke, Vegeta's eyes began to spin again. When the illusion restarted again, Vegeta's ninth illusion journey also began. But unlike before, this time Vegeta did not start over on Earth, but went directly to new planet Vegeta. When he opened his eyes, Vegeta immediately heard Son Goku's shout. Vegeta, did you hear that? Broly is the legendary Super Saiyan. I am Vegeta opened his eyes and looked around and found that it seemed to be the second day after he arrived at new planet Vegeta. According to his memory, he was planning to leave new planet Vegeta at this time, but was stopped by Son Goku, who was already waiting on the spaceship. Because last night, Broly had already gone berserk once without his knowledge and sneak attacked Son Goku. Although Broly quickly regained his sanity due to Paragus' intervention, his identity as the legendary Super Saiyan had been exposed. That's why Sun Wukong waited here deliberately, hoping that Vegeta could fight Broly with him. Paragus, just tell Vegeta the truth. King Vegeta, no, how can Broly be a Super Saiyan? He is just Paragus was still trying to argue, but Trunks flew over and said, Dad, Mister. Son Goku is right. There's something wrong with this Paragus. He is lying to you. Everything on this planet is a lie. The cities over there are all in ruins. This man is full of lies. Dad, you must be careful. Idiot. Do you think I don't know? After confirming the situation, Vegeta immediately turned to Paragus. Or rather, Broly behind him. Recalling the scenes in the previous 8 illusions, Vegeta's eyes flashed with murderous intent. Damn Broly. I'm going to kill you this time. Boom. Vegeta instantly entered the Super Saiyan form and stretched out his 5 fingers towards Paragus and Broly. Big Bang Attack. Chapter 46. Join forces with Sun Wukong, the strongest partner. If force gushed out from the palm of Vegeta's hand, instantly engulfing Broly and Paragus. The scorching energy stirred up thick smoke, completely obscuring everyone's vision. But Vegeta immediately retreated to the side of Son Goku. Although his vision was obscured by the smoke, he could sense that Paragus' aura had disappeared. But Broly's aura remained the same, and compared to before, it was not weakened at all. It was a sneak attack launched when his power was suppressed, and it seemed to be completely useless. Sure enough, the legendary Super Saiyans and their Super Saiyan forms are clearly two different things. Kakarot, let's go together. Okay. As soon as Son Goku agreed, he felt something was wrong. He looked at Vegeta in surprise. You mean together? Me and you? Of course. Now is not the time to stick to a one-on-one fight. Can't you feel how terrifying that monster is? That's right, no wonder you said that. A smile appeared on Sun Wukong's face. That was the Saiyan blood boiling in his body. However, Sun Wukong's expression soon changed from excitement to surprise. Because according to his perception, Broly's aura was still increasing and soon reached a level that Sun Wukong in this world had never seen before. What's going on with that guy? Sun Wukong looked solemn. There's no time to explain, Kakarot. You should be able to transform into a Super Saiyan at full power, right? Vegeta asked. In fact, he knew the answer without asking. Because in the previous rounds of illusions, he had seen Sun Wukong use his full power transformation. I will, Vegeta. Are you going to? Before Sun Wukong could finish his words, he was surprised to see Vegeta's eyes slightly closed. The Super Saiyan aura that was all over his body just now suddenly became extremely natural. He actually entered the realm of Super Saiyan full power. Have you reached this level? Sun Wukong asked with some surprise. Vegeta didn't feel proud. Although in this world he had only reached the second level of Super Saiyan before. But in the original world, Vegeta had already mastered the full power transformation of Super Saiyan. Now, after 8 rounds of illusion challenges, he has completely mastered this body and overcome the fear of Chu and KO in his blood. Once his aura was able to calm down, entering the state of full Super Saiyan power was a natural progression. Here he comes. Come on, Kakarot. Just as Vegeta finished his words, an angry roar erupted from the smoke on the opposite side. Kakarot. Broly, like a giant, broke through the smoke and dust and rushed towards Son Goku father. On the side, Son Gohan and Trunks wanted to come over to help, but were stopped by Vegeta's shout. Don't come over here. You are of no use. This was the lesson Vegeta had learned from his previous illusions. Facing Broly, neither Trunks nor Son Gohan, who may have just mastered the Super Saiyan transformation and cannot yet transform into Super Saiyan 2, can help much in the battle. On the contrary, Sun Wukong had to take care of them during the battle because he was worried about them. But facing Broly, who has overwhelming strength advantage, doing so would be simply seeking death. It would be better for them to face it with their full strength. While shouting at the 2 men to leave, Vegeta saw that Broly had ignored him and started chasing Son Goku. Green energy balls kept falling behind him, blasting the earth into pieces. Sun Wukong could only dodge continuously by teleporting, and his occasional counterattacks were completely ignored by Broly. Kakarot, is this your counterattack? Trash is trash after all. Don't underestimate me. Sun Wukong disappeared from the spot in an instant, and the next moment he appeared next to Broly. He kicked fiercely towards Broly's chest, the violent force suddenly creating a shock wave and a sound of breaking through the air. But after this kick, Broly was too lazy to even defend himself and took the kick head-on. Did you use more strength? Broly smiled crazily. Son Goku's face changed. He turned around and kept punching Broly. Sun Wukong's attack was unreserved, and every punch caused the air to vibrate. But after a few punches, Broly actually made a disdainful sound. Have you finished the fight? Sun Wukong's face changed instantly, his attack stopped abruptly, and he retreated quickly. Almost at the same time, a green energy ball suddenly condensed on Broly's palm. Explosion boomed just as Broly was about to shoot out the energy ball, a figure kicked him. Broly, who had just remained motionless in the face of Sun Wukong's iron fist, was kicked this time so hard that his face was distorted and he flew out directly. Vegeta. Sun Wukong was surprised to see the person coming. How did you do it? Sun Wukong couldn't understand it at all, as he and Vegeta were obviously equally powerful. But his attack just now was useless against Broly, so why was Vegeta's kick so effective? Do you also have questions, Kakarot? Vegeta sneered, but still gave an explanation. With Broly's energy, no matter how we attack, it will be useless. The only way is to burst out all our strength at the moment of attack. The moment of attack. Sun Wukong didn't quite understand. Don't forget, our Super Saiyan full power form is the most balanced Super Saiyan form, but this balance is actually useless against Broly. To penetrate his terrifying defense, we must increase our power to the maximum. As soon as Vegeta explained, he saw Broly coming back with murderous intent. His explanation had to be interrupted temporarily. Vegeta, you're looking for death, you bastard. This time, Broly left Son Goku behind and went straight for Vegeta. Although he has a huge body, Broly's speed is not slow at all. He arrives in front of Vegeta in the blink of an eye. Vegeta dodged while constantly switching the battlefield between the sky and the ground. Broly relied on his endless energy and fired Kigong bullets continuously, covering the sky and the earth. But the strange thing is that even though Vegeta doesn't have the ability to teleport, he can still completely avoid Broly's attacks with incredible accuracy. That is Sun Wukong's eyes widened. He finally understood how Vegeta did it. I see, Vegeta, you're really something. Sun Wukong grinned and disappeared from the spot. The next moment, he appeared behind Broly. Broly, don't forget me either. Then, Son Goku punched Broly in the face. This time, Broly flew out like a cannonball, and finally, with a loud bang, crashed into the ruins of a high-rise building. Chapter 47 Vegeta and Ash 039's Plan, the Final Joint Attack. Kakarot, it seems you already understand. Vegeta flew to Son Goku's side and said while being on guard. Yeah, but I never thought that there would be such a change when the Super Saiyan is at full power. Vegeta, our current state can be called the Super Saiyan at full power, right? Sun Wukong said with admiration. What a mess. Vegeta looked disdainful, but he was sighing in his heart. As expected of Kakarot, he was able to master his skills so quickly. Just now, the reason why Vegeta and Son Goku suddenly had the strength to fight Broly was because they had both improved the transformation to Super Saiyan full power. In the past, Vegeta and Son Goku always felt that Super Saiyan full power was the most perfect Super Saiyan 1 form, because this form combines strength and speed, achieving a perfect balance. However, when facing Broly, whose strength surpasses theirs in every aspect, maintaining a balanced transformation will make them weaker than the opponent in every aspect, becoming weaker than Broly in all aspects. So after being instructed by Mr. Popo, Vegeta came up with a special method that would allow him to have the strength to fight Broly in a short period of time. That is to deliberately adjust your strength and speed at full Super Saiyan power. When he attacked Broly, he concentrated all his energy on strength at the moment he was about to hit him, so that his instantaneous explosive power was enough to cause effective damage to Broly. When dodging attacks, concentrate all your energy on speed to counter Broly's speed. Of course, to do this, one must first fully master Super 1 full power and also be able to perfectly control the breath. Vegeta in the past would definitely not be able to do this, but after training from Mr. Popo, Vegeta has mastered this ability. As for Son Goku, he was able to understand Vegeta's skills with just a few glances. As expected, he is worthy of being a genius recognized by Vegeta. However, Broly, a legendary superhero, cannot be defeated by just a few punches. A moment later, a roar came from the ruins, and a ball of green light suddenly exploded from where Broly fell, and instantly engulfed the entire ruins coming. Just as Vegeta exclaimed, Broly suddenly emerged from the smoke and punched Son Goku. Sun Wukong instantly increased his speed to the extreme and dodged the attack. But Broly had no intention of letting him go, and disappeared on the spot. "Don't underestimate me." Feeling ignored, Vegeta immediately chased after him and fought the monster Broly together with Son Goku. Bang bang bang. The sound of three people's fists and feet fighting continued to be heard in the air too fast. At this moment, still some distance away from the battlefield, Son Gohan and Trunks both stared with their eyes wide open, stunned. They now understood why Vegeta didn't let them join just now. With the strength of two people, it is impossible for them to get involved in a battle of this magnitude. At this moment, whether it is Broly, Vegeta, or Son Goku, their speed of movement and fighting is far superior to that of Trunks and Son Gohan. The two young Saiyans could only hear the dull sounds of fighting in the air, but could not catch any of the movements of the three people. At the same time, the huge aura released by the three people during the battle stretched over from a distance of several thousand meters, pressing on their chests, making it difficult for them to breathe. Turtle-style Qigong wave. At this time, Sun Wukong thought he had seized an opportunity. He used all his strength to perform the Kamehameha wave. A wave of azure blue energy was pushed out, completely engulfing Broly in an instant. But Vegeta yelled at this moment, "Idiot! Qigong waves are useless to him." Broly's aura is far superior to the two of them, especially his body, which is always protected by that huge aura, as if he has a protective shield with him. Although Sun Wukong's Kamehameha can instantly amplify his energy, it cannot concentrate the power to one point like their fists. So although this diffuse Qigong attack looks incredibly powerful, it is actually not as effective against Broly as their fists. Sure enough, after being hit head-on by Son Goku's Kamehameha, Broly actually let out an evil laugh and rushed directly towards the Kamehameha. Then, Broly punched Son Goku in the face. The domineering punch force turned into a transparent shockwave, and Sun Wukong was knocked away before he even had time to react. His body broke through the nearby mountain wall and fell into the rocky mountain behind. This idiot! Seeing Broly's unstable posture after attacking Son Goku, Vegeta immediately attacked from behind. His iron fists kept hitting Broly. But this time, Vegeta's attack seemed to have no effect except making Broly even angrier. Broly withstood Vegeta's attack, snorted coldly, and threw a fierce punch whizzing towards Vegeta. Because he had just gathered his strength to attack, Vegeta did not have time to increase his speed. Broly's fist landed on his abdomen with incredible accuracy. A terrifying explosive force instantly burst out of the fist. Boom! Vegeta was like being hit by a cannonball. He flew out and finally fell to the ground. Vegeta, it looks like your method is useless. This guy's energy has increased again. He's like a monster. In the Rocky Mountain, Sun Wukong stood up again, with cold sweat constantly coming out of his forehead. Vegeta on the other side quickly climbed up, with blood still flowing from the corner of his mouth. Although he was only hit by one punch, because all his energy was concentrated on his fist, Broly's punch almost took away half of Vegeta's life. But Vegeta did not give up because he had one last resort. Vegeta raised his head and looked at Broly above him. His eyes seemed to be looking at him, but in fact they were falling on the huge comet behind Broly that was approaching the new Vegeta planet. That comet was the one that Pericus originally planned to use to kill Vegeta. Unknowingly, this huge comet, which is powerful enough to destroy the entire planet, has come near the planet. Kakarot, I have another idea. Do you remember how you and Piccolo killed Raditz? Huh? Vegeta, you can teleport. Even if you focus your energy on your strength, you can get close to him in an instant. As rivals who have competed with each other for many years, there are some things that only a word or two can be enough to make the two of them understand each other. Sun Wukong smiled bitterly, then rushed towards Broly again. He agreed to Vegeta's plan with his actions. Chapter 48, Returning to Reality, Real or Illusory. Let's start. Vegeta opened his hands to the left and right, and the golden flame that was originally hidden in his body overflowed again, and this time, a faint golden electric current flashed in the flame. At the same time, Son Goku almost flew to Broly. Broly, Kakarot. A green energy ball instantly formed in Broly's palm and he threw it towards Son Goku. The energy ball was no bigger than a fist at first, but halfway through its flight, it suddenly became extremely huge. But just when the energy ball was about to hit Sun Wukong, his figure suddenly disappeared. The next moment, Son Goku appeared behind Broly and hugged him tightly. Ha! Sun Wukong concentrated all his energy into strength, and in just a moment his muscles bulged and expanded, and he actually went directly from Super 1 full power to Super 1/3 stage. In the original work, Perfect Form Cell once commented on future Trunks who used this transformation, and felt that Trunks at this stage was even more powerful than him. Now that Sun Wukong has performed this transformation, his strength immediately reaches a level almost exactly the same as Broly's. The only difference is that Broly's speed is far superior to that of Son Goku. But it doesn't matter anymore, because all Sun Wukong has to do is control Broly's actions for a short period of time. Kakarot, what do you want to do? Broly repeatedly punched Son Goku on the back, trying to break free from him. But I couldn't do it for a while. At this moment, Broly's eyes suddenly noticed Vegeta below. At this time, the golden flash on Vegeta's body was becoming stronger and stronger. He stretched his hands forward, palms facing Broly and Son Goku. As the energy gathered, countless floating clouds in the sky rushed towards Vegeta's head. The ground beneath his feet began to tremble, and countless rocks broke free from gravity and floated in the air. Vegeta, Kakarot, let go. Let me go now. The terrifying power condensed in Vegeta's hands actually made Broly feel the danger. He desperately swung his fist at Sun Wukong behind him, trying to escape from him. However, even though Sun Wukong was vomiting blood, he still clung to the beast tightly. Vegeta, attack now. Here it comes. The ultimate flash. Finally, Vegeta's trump card was completed. A vast amount of energy erupted from his hands like a volcano. Like a long dragon, it rushed straight towards Broly and Son Goku. Boom! The heaven and earth were eclipsed by it. No! Broly felt the horror of Vegeta's move, and immediately stretched out his hand and opened a protective shield over his entire body, trying to block this terrifying energy. And he did it. However, although Broly's protective shield blocked Vegeta's ultimate flash, it was unable to completely offset it. Driven by this energy, Broly and Son Goku began to leave the surface and fly towards the comet outside the atmosphere. Soon, the huge comet was within reach. Kakarot, let go, we're going to die. I'm sorry, Broly. This time only you will die. Sun Wukong loosened his hand, then used instant teleportation to come to Vegeta's side and looked up at the sky with him. Without the restraint of Sun Wukong, Broly was too late to do anything. The terrifying energy of the ultimate flash has pushed him into the orbit of the comet, leaving him no time to escape. Kakarot, Vegeta. Broly spread out his 5 fingers and actually tried to stop the comet with one hand and block the ultimate flash with the other. As he roared, an energy aura far more powerful than before emerged. And the comet and the ultimate flash also stopped at this moment. What? Vegeta and Son Goku were both stunned. They didn't expect that Broly could still hold on even after all this. This monster. Vegeta gritted his teeth, reached out and grabbed Son Goku. Kakarot, use teleport to take me up. Understood. Sun Wukong put his finger on his forehead and instantly moved to Broly with Vegeta. Go to hell. Vegeta punched Broly in the face. But this fist, which had gathered all his strength, only made Broly's head move slightly. Broly even started to exert force, pushing Vegeta's fist back. Damn it. Vegeta knew that if he didn't think of a solution, the aftermath of the ultimate flash would dissipate, and without the pressure from one side, Broly would really break free. He gritted his teeth, reached out and grabbed Broly's hair, and punched again with his right hand. This time, he concentrated all his strength into this punch without holding back a single bit. At the same moment, Sun Wukong also swung his fist from the other side. The tremendous momentum contained in the two fists was earth-shaking, and finally they hit Broly's face hard at the same time. And with their punch, the balance that Broly had worked so hard to maintain was finally destroyed. The comet and ultimate flash, which had already stopped moving, crashed into him again. Vegeta. At this time, Sun Wukong grabbed Vegeta and used instant movement to take him away from the scene. The next moment, the comet and the ultimate flash collided violently. Broly's body was constantly squeezed and burned by the surging energy. Even the body of the legendary Super Saiyan could not withstand it and shattered. Broly's pupils suddenly shrank, and he screamed madly, Kakarot! Vegeta! Boom! With a deafening explosion, the legendary Super Saiyan and the comet disappeared outside the atmosphere of new planet Vegeta. Haha! Vegeta, we won. Back on the ground, Sun Wukong looked exhausted and could barely stand. He reached out his hand to Vegeta. Vegeta was also out of breath, but he still snorted coldly and slapped Sun Wukong. Snapped! As the sound came to his ears, Vegeta's consciousness seemed to be pulled out of his body by some force. When he came to his senses again, he found himself in a room full of clocks. Mr. Bobo's dark figure, as dark as if stained with ink, appeared in front of him. Vegeta, welcome back. Congratulations on passing the trial. I'm back. Vegeta looked around doubtfully, then looked down at himself. Only then was he sure that he was indeed back. Because his current body is no longer the body that can transform into a Super Saiyan. The most obvious difference is that Vegeta now still has a tail. But at this moment, Vegeta suddenly looked at his left hand. I saw a few green hairs in his palm. This is it, Broly's hair. Mr. Bobo, was what I just experienced really an illusion? What are you talking about, Vegeta? Of course it's an illusion. Mr. Bobo had his hands behind his back, and his two copper-coin eyes made it impossible to tell whether he was lying or not at the same time. On the new Vegeta planet that Vegeta had just left, Sun Wukong looked at the confused Vegeta in front of him and smiled slightly. Goodbye, Vegeta. Chapter 49. 1 year? Was what I experienced before real or an illusion? Vegeta was also a little confused for a moment. If the battle with Broly was real, how do I explain why I died at Broly's hands so many times? But if it was an illusion, how to explain the handful of Broly's hair in his hand? And is this the room I entered when I entered the illusion? Vegeta looked around suspiciously, and couldn't confirm what was going on until Mr. Popo led him away. However, this trial was indeed difficult, but for Vegeta, it was also a huge gain. Faced with Broly's threat, he did exert his control over his energy to the extreme in the illusion. This also created a Super Saiyan 1 form that is above the full power of the Super Saiyan. Although he doesn't need this form now, it has opened up many new ideas for Vegeta. In the past, what Vegeta had always pursued was a pure form of transformation. From Super Saiyan 1 at the beginning to Super Saiyan 2 later, I never thought that even the most basic Super Saiyan form still has the possibility of further development. Hi. Vegeta, you're back. Arriving at the temple square, Vegeta suddenly saw two familiar figures. It turned out to be Krillin and Yamcha. Why are you here? Vegeta was surprised. They have passed the test of the Cat Immortal and are qualified to practice in the Heavenly Palace. The god Piccolo, who was instructing the two, came over and explained to Vegeta. Vegeta was stunned for a moment. He knew that Krillin and Yamcha climbed Galen Tower. But when he entered the illusion to practice, those two guys should have just climbed up the Galen Tower, right? Could it be? How long have I been in the illusion? It's almost been a year. God Piccolo calculated. 1 year. Vegeta was surprised. Although he reincarnated a total of 9 times in the illusion. But in reality, each time only lasted a few days, so how come a year had passed in reality? Vegeta remembered that in his memory, when Krillin, Yamcha and the others entered the illusion to practice, only a moment had passed in reality. Why is it different for him? Vegeta, your training at the Celestial Palace has concluded. Where are you going next? God Piccolo seemed to want something from Vegeta, but he was too embarrassed to ask directly. Vegeta thought about it after finishing his training in the Temple of Heaven. There are only 2 places left where Kakarot once practiced. God, do you know King Kai? King Kai? God Piccolo was surprised. You even know King Kai? It seems that there is nothing in this world that you don't know. Not always. Vegeta glanced at Popo. Even after merging with the soul from another world, he found that he still couldn't see through some things in this world. For example, the wonderful spiritual spacetime house that Mr. Bobo took him to was like that. King Kai can indeed give you some pointers, but I may need to go to the underworld first. To find King Kai, I must have the permission of the King of Hell. Then I'll wait. The god Piccolo then disappeared from the spot and went to the underworld. Just as Vegeta was waiting for God Piccolo to come back, Krillin and Yamcha couldn't contain their excitement to see Vegeta again and challenged him. Vegeta gladly accepted it as an entertainment to pass the time. The result was naturally no surprise. Even though he suppressed his own strength, Vegeta still defeated the 2 men easily. However, Krillin and Yamcha's performance still surprised Vegeta a little. It seems like you 2 have been working really hard this year. In the eyes of Vegeta in the past, the strength of Krillin and Yamcha was not worth mentioning at all. However, after not seeing each other for a year, their strength has grown dramatically. Not only have they learned to fly, they are even stronger than the previous Lord Piccolo. If estimated by combat power, Vegeta felt that the combat power of the 2 of them might be close to 500. Krillin and Yamcha are indeed working very hard. They are working hard with you as their target. Mr. Bobo also gave a rare performance to both of them. Vegeta sneered. Aim for yourself. I just hope they can keep up this courage in the future. A moment later, God Piccolo also came back, but the news he brought was not what Vegeta wanted. I'm sorry, Vegeta, but King Yama said that unless you have done great deeds, no mortal can enter the underworld. So if you want to see King Kai, you have to die first. Death. Vegeta's expression suddenly changed. What a joke. God Piccolo seemed to have expected this and explained. Don't be surprised, Vegeta. Don't we still have Shenlong? After you complete your training, I can use Shenlong to revive you. Then why don't you just use Shenlong to send me to King Kai? The god Piccolo was silent for a long time before he said with shame, well, it seems so, I guess. Fortunately, he is the creator of Dragon Ball, but he actually forgot that there is such a method. Forget it, King Kai, I won't go there for now. I have other uses for the Dragon Balls. Vegeta suddenly changed his mind and wanted to use the Dragon Balls. He would rather make another wish to Shenlong. That is to let him know the coordinates of the planet Yadrat. Although King Kai's side is also the place where Kakarot once practiced. But the practice on King Kai's planet is actually gravity practice, and the increase is only 10 times that of the Earth's gravity. It meant little to Vegeta, who had already arranged for Bulma to prepare the gravity chamber for him. As for the other 2 gains from going to King Kai's planet, they were the Kaio Fist and the Spirit Bomb. But no matter which one it is, it's just a simple trick, and there is no need to rush for Vegeta now. After that, Vegeta prepared to say goodbye and leave. But before leaving, the god Piccolo made a new request to him. That is to hope that Vegeta can subdue the descendant left behind by the great demon King Piccolo. During the days that Vegeta was training, the god Piccolo had been observing the young demon. I saw that he was constantly working hard to train and grow because of Vegeta's encouragement. Although only less than 3 years have passed, the strength of the second-generation Piccolo has far surpassed that of the great demon King Piccolo. Previously, the god Piccolo allowed Krillin and Yamcha to enter the Temple of the Gods to practice because he was worried that the second-generation Piccolo would cause chaos in the world while Vegeta was training and there would be no one to suppress him. After listening to the request of God Piccolo, Vegeta did not say whether he agreed or not, and flew away in a hurry. His destination was Bulma's home in the western capital. Bulma the girl's smiling face appeared in Vegeta's mind. This time in the illusion, Vegeta once again saw Bulma when she was with him, holding Trunks in her arms. Although that was just a fake character in the illusion, it made Vegeta's heart ripple with longing, and he couldn't help but want to see the real Bulma again. Of course, Vegeta also told himself in his heart that he was just going to get the Dragon Ball radar and the spaceship. It wasn't just for that woman. After all, that was Bulma in this world, not his real wife. Chapter 50 Bulma and Ash 039's Research. The Secret of Super Saiyan. Western Capital, headquarters of the Universal Capsule Company. In a special laboratory, Bulma, with blue hair, is concentrating in front of a computer. Next to her, a huge piece of experimental equipment was making a low sound. Ever since the incident with Lord Piccolo, Bulma has rarely gone out and has spent almost all of her time on research. And now, her research will soon bear fruit. However, an error message suddenly popped up on the computer in front of Bulma. Bulma frowned, and after checking the system data, her brow suddenly became worried. After thinking for a while, she picked up her phone and dialed a number. "Teacher Womi, it's me, Bulma. Sorry, I ran into trouble with my experiment again." This is it. At this moment, Bulma's mother, Mrs. Brief, walked into the laboratory and said with a smile, "Bulma, come out and take a rest. Someone is looking for you outside." Bulma was stunned and asked, "Who's looking for me?" "A man." Mrs. Brief smiled ambiguously. Bulma was stunned for a moment and suddenly guessed who it was. She quickly said sorry to the person on the other end of the phone, hung up, and then ran out excitedly. It was in the Brief's garden that Bulma met the man she had been thinking about day and night. Vegeta. Vegeta saw Bulma from a distance and didn't recognize her for a moment. The girl who used to have long hair now has a neat and short haircut, looking like a tomboy. Bulma flew over excitedly, not having any reservations about Vegeta at all. Instead, Vegeta, with a helpless look on his face, held her and spun her around, then pressed her to the ground. "Haven't we just met?" "What? You've been gone for a year," Bulma said angrily. "Won't you be training all year? Didn't you think of coming to see me?" Vegeta blushed and said helplessly, "You vulgar woman, why should I come to see you?" Bulma couldn't pretend anymore and started to laugh secretly with her hands covering her mouth. "You are still so stubborn. By the way, I have a guest at home who has been waiting for you for a long time." "Guest? Wait for me?" When Vegeta saw the guest Bulma mentioned, he couldn't help but show a look of surprise. The person waiting for him at Bulma's house was Sun Gohan, whom he had not seen for a long time. In the evening, Dr. Brief's family invited Vegeta and Sun Gohan to a family dinner. The whole family ate and chatted together, having a great time. "Oh my, Vegeta, you haven't eaten well in a long time?" Sun Gohan looked at Vegeta, who was eating voraciously with a smile. Dr. and Mrs. Brief also opened their mouths wide. Because at the dinner table, Vegeta ate the amount of food that 20 people ate by himself. The only thing to eat in the Temple of Heaven was the food made with flour by Mr. Popo. Vegeta, who had not tasted delicious food for a long time, indulged himself and ate a big meal. After the meal, several people listened to the music played by Dr. Brief and chatted in the garden for a while. "Old man, why are you here?" Vegeta asked. "I asked the teacher, and he told me that I would most likely meet you here, Bulma." Sun Gohan answered with a smile, but did not say the purpose of his visit. Then, he asked Vegeta instead. "So you're here to look for Dragon Ball again this time?" "Well, I want to use the power of the Dragon Balls to know the coordinates of a planet. This time I plan to go to an alien planet," Vegeta explained. In fact, with the power of Dragon Balls he can directly reach the planet Yadrat. But Vegeta still wanted to rely on the spaceship to get there, because he wanted to use the gravity room to practice some physical training during the flight. Vegeta's training over the years has mostly been focused on martial arts techniques and the cultivation of his Kai, but his body has not been adequately trained due to the lack of challenging opponents on Earth. Vegeta wanted to take advantage of this long journey to make up for his shortcomings in this area. Then aren't you going to go to the universe to practice next?" Bulma seemed helpless about Vegeta having to travel far away again. But she suddenly blinked and said, "Right. Then I'll go with you." Vegeta was stunned. "Together what?" "Let's go to space together," Bulma said excitedly. "You don't know, I haven't been out for a long time since I studied the science cells for you. It's just right for me to go out with you this time." "Nonsense, I'm going to practice. Why are you going with me?" "Just take care of your practice. I have things to do myself and won't disturb you." Bulma suddenly laughed evilly. "Besides, aren't you going to use the spaceship? That spaceship has been modified by my father and me. Without me, can you fly it?" Veins popped out on Vegeta's forehead. After hovering on the edge of exploding with anger for a while, he said in a frustrated tone, "Go ahead if you want to." "Mom, pack my bags for me." Bulma immediately stood up and laughed. "Great, my daughter is going to be the first human to enter the universe." Mrs. Brief clapped her hands, but Dr. Brief said, "My dear, she is not the first human being. Our eldest daughter is." "Shut up, Dad." Sun Gohan laughed and said, "Universe, I want to go there too, but I'm too old to go." "But Vegeta, I'll go with you guys to find the Dragon Balls." Vegeta was speechless. Why did they all follow him? But he couldn't refuse, because now both the Dragon Ball radar and the spaceship were in Bulma's hands. Afterwards, Sun Gohan and the Brief couple went to rest. Vegeta and Bulma went to the laboratory because the latter said she wanted him to see some research results on Saiyan cells. In the laboratory, Bulma turned on the computer. The picture on the screen is the image of Vegeta's cells under the microscope. Vegeta couldn't understand it himself, so he had to listen to Bulma's explanation. "I think I've discovered the S cells you mentioned. Look, there's a special type of cell in your blood that's present in very low amounts." Bulma used a small black stick to circle a special cell sample on the screen. "Look, this is it. According to my experiments, this special cell seems to be able to store a lot of energy and proliferate due to emotions. Combined with your original description, I judge that this should be the S cell." "So this is the S cell?" Vegeta used to think that all it took to become a Super Saiyan was enough strength and anger. But later, combined with the memories of the soul from another world, he realized that this S cell was the key to becoming a Super Saiyan. No wonder he couldn't become a Super Saiyan no matter how hard he tried. It was not until he lived on Earth with Bulma for a period of time that he successfully completed the transformation. "So how many S cells do I have in my body now? How many S cells do I need to be able to transform into a Super Saiyan? In my opinion, it should be at least 50%. I once made a wish to the dragon and got a computer that can simulate the changes of S cells. According to my research, after the S cells reach 50% and the stored energy reaches a certain level, special mutations will occur due to emotions. I guess this mutation is what you call a Super Saiyan. So this is a. At this point, Vegeta finally understood why no Super Saiyan had ever been born on planet Vegeta. Because it is impossible to produce S cells in the environment of planet Vegeta. What about me? How many S cells do I have now? Vegeta asked. Your S cells now are less than 10%, at least it was like that a year ago. Bulma laughed. Why is it so little? Vegeta was a little annoyed. He didn't expect that he had so few S cells. But then he changed his mind and realized that after coming to this world, except for the 1 year at Sun Gohan's house, he seemed to have been practicing all the time. Perhaps this environment could not be considered a stable and peaceful environment, so his S cells had not increased much. But this would ruin Vegeta's plans. The growth of S cells does not depend on how hard Vegeta practices, but is related to the environment. In this case, how long will he have to wait before he can become a Super Saiyan? Once he becomes a Super Saiyan, how long will it take before he has enough strength to rival that world's Kakarot? Chapter 51: The Second Dragon Ball Journey. The next day, Vegeta, who was scheduled to set out early in the morning to look for the Dragon Balls, saw Bulma walking out with a pair of dark circles under her eyes. You have not slept? Yes. I did the experiment for a whole night last night. After learning that his S cells were only 10%, Vegeta unwillingly took Bulma to have her blood drawn again for testing. The results showed that compared to a year ago, Vegeta's S cell content only increased by 1%. Sure enough, although Vegeta is now on Earth, the long-term training state cannot cause a large increase in the value of S cells. In other words, if Vegeta wants to improve his S cells, he can only give up training and live a stable life. But this was something he couldn't accept. So, the distressed Vegeta made Bulma do another full-body X-ray, and after handing her Broly's hair, which he had no idea how he got into his hands, he went back to rest with a depressed look on his face. But I didn't expect that Bulma would stay up all night again. However, despite the dark circles under her eyes, Bulma seemed to be in good spirits. She walked up to Vegeta with a smile on her face, and then suddenly took something and stabbed it towards his neck. Snapped! The thing in Bulma's hand broke apart when it touched Vegeta's body. Oops! Bulma exclaimed, looking at the thing in her hand with a distressed look on her face. What are you doing? Vegeta looked at Bulma's hand curiously and found that it was a syringe that looked like a syringe. It's just that the tip of the syringe has completely cracked. You idiot! I stayed up all night to make this for you last night. Fortunately, only the injection port is broken. Wait for me. Bulma hurried back to the laboratory, and when she came out again, she had a new syringe in her hand. Don't move this time. Hold on to your strength. Bulma grabbed Vegeta's arm, speaking like a doctor. Vegeta held his breath, but when he saw the syringe raised to his arm, he instinctively got goosebumps. That syringe reminded him of something unpleasant. Vegeta, you're not scared, are you? Bulma looked up and asked when she saw the goosebumps. How is that possible? Why would I be afraid? Vegeta raised his head, trying to act like he wasn't scared, but he felt a chill on his hands. Bulma had already completed the injection skillfully. All right. What the hell is this? Vegeta asked, covering his arm. A growth agent. If I'm not mistaken, it should be able to stimulate the growth rate of S cells in your body. Bulma smiled proudly. No mistake. What if I am wrong? Then give me another shot. Vegeta's pupils shrank and he took several steps back. Vegeta, Sun Gohan and Bulma sat opposite each other in an old propeller aircraft. A robot sat in the driving the aircraft for the three of them. On the small table in front of them was a 3D map with a few small dots lit up on it. Vegeta looked at the map and said impatiently, "Why do we have to take such a slow aircraft? If I could fly by myself, I could collect all these Dragon Balls in one day." Sun Gohan smiled gently and said, "No, Vegeta. Didn't I tell you? You have been training these days and have never let yourself relax. Let me ask you, what is the purpose of the game scenario? Practice well and have a good rest. Sun Gohan shook his head. It's only been a short time since you left your teacher, and you've already forgotten everything. I'll be watching you this time, so we can slowly collect those Dragon Balls. Vegeta was helpless. He also remembered the training principles of Kame Senryu. It was just the habit of two lifetimes, plus the desire to return to his original world as soon as possible, that made it difficult for Vegeta to relax. In this way, Vegeta and his two companions began their second journey to search for Dragon Balls across the vast land. The route for this collection was set by Sun Gohan himself, and only the last destination was requested by Bulma. Because one of the Dragon Balls seemed to be near the island where Bulma's sister lived, she wanted to take Vegeta to see her sister, so she decided to make that Dragon Ball the last one. All other routes are decided by Sun Gohan. He seemed to have some idea and drew a strange travel route. Vegeta was also curious about Sun Gohan's sudden appearance, but when he asked him several times, Sun Gohan kept silent and just said that he wanted to go for a walk with Vegeta. Unlike Goku's second journey to find the Dragon Balls in the original work, Vegeta's second journey to find the Dragon Balls was extremely smooth. Although we took a long detour, the journey was smooth. The Red Ribbon Army and Lord Piccolo were all dealt with early on by Vegeta. So along the way, the three of them mostly walked, stopped and looked at the scenery. But sometimes, Sun Gohan would suddenly fight with Vegeta. Of course, given the current power gap between the two, it's more like a game between elders and juniors than a fight, or like Sun Gohan sharing his martial arts experience with Vegeta. A month later, the three people had found 5 Dragon Balls. The 6th Dragon Ball is near an island called Papaya Island. Papaya Island. Hearing the name, Bulma immediately became interested. Grand Gohan, is this where the world's #1 martial arts tournament is held? Yeah, Bulma, have you heard of it too? I went to see it 3 years ago. The last champion was Klin. Right, Sun Gohan nodded. I still remember that I once taught Krillin and Yamcha for a period of time. Unfortunately, when the competition came, I had already gone back. I heard that the 22nd competition will start soon. It seems to be in these 2 days, the world's #1 martial arts conference. Vegeta snorted coldly. He had also participated in that competition in his previous life. In his opinion, it was just a game played by a group of bored earthlings. It can't be considered a martial arts competition, let alone the best in the world. But thinking of this, an idea suddenly came to Vegeta's mind. Sun Gohan, you don't want me to participate in the martial arts tournament, do you? Hee, did you see it? Sun Gohan said with a smile. Vegeta was speechless. No wonder the route arranged by Sun Gohan for them was so strange. It turned out that he had planned to pass by Papaya Island during the 22nd martial arts tournament. Do you think a competition of that level is worth my participation? That's not necessarily true, Vegeta. Strength in martial arts does not depend on physical strength. The strong are powerful, but the weak are not completely useless. At this point, Sun Gohan whispered in his ear, also, has the person you want to deal with ever participated in this competition? When Sun Gohan was with Master Roshi, he had already heard about Vegeta from him. In fact, among the people he knows now, only Bulma doesn't know that Vegeta came from another world because Vegeta deliberately concealed it from her. After hearing what Sun Gohan said, Vegeta had no choice but to shut up, knowing that he had to participate in the competition. Chapter 52 Demon 2 Piccolo. The next day, the journey continued and the aircraft began to fly towards Papaya Island. On the way, the three of them happened to pass by the remains of the former headquarters of the Red Ribbon Army. Seen from the sky, although more than a year has passed, nothing has changed here. It is still desolate and no one comes to clean up the ruins. Sun Gohan was looking down from the sky at the huge base ruins and sighed, "Oh my, Vegeta, did you do all this? Even if Master Wu Tian and I work together, I'm afraid we won't be able to deal with such a large base. I didn't expect you to solve it by yourself." And even eliminated Lord Piccolo. Vegeta's face showed no expression, but his tone was very light. "It's nothing to me." Sun Gohan withdrew his gaze from the window with a look of relief, leaned back in his chair and said, "Vegeta, Earth is your second home after all. The safety of the Earth depends on you from now on." Vegeta suddenly raised his head. "Old man, you." At this moment, Vegeta suddenly sensed a breath not far from here. His aura is not strong. Judging from his combat power, he may even be weaker than Klin and others who are currently training in the Temple of the Gods. But this breath is not from humans, but has the smell of demons. After thinking about it for a while, Vegeta recognized the owner of this energy. It was Piccolo. And it was the second-generation demon Piccolo that he knew and was familiar with. Thinking of what Piccolo said when he left the Temple of the Gods, Vegeta said to Bulma, "Bulma, turn around, I have somewhere to go." That Piccolo, with such limited strength, I really don't know why the gods are afraid of him. From Vegeta's perspective, he really didn't feel that Piccolo posed any threat. But he didn't know that Piccolo was actually just over 1 year old at this moment. In terms of growth ability, in the Dragon Ball world, Piccolo's growth potential is actually higher than that of Son Goku and others. As a Namekian, Piccolo does not have the ability to double his strength after being seriously injured, nor does he have the ability to transform. However, he once relied solely on training to increase his combat power from around 100 million to a level comparable to that of a Super Saiyan. Therefore, the concern of God Piccolo for him was not groundless. As for now, Vegeta simply thought that Piccolo was nearby, so he went to see him and threatened him a few times to prevent Piccolo from causing trouble when he left the Earth in the future. There is an uninhabited deserted island in the ocean hundreds of kilometers away from the ruins of the Red Ribbon Army headquarters. The newborn Piccolo came to this deserted island to practice from the day he was born. Because he inherited all of Lord Piccolo's memories, he knows very well who the enemy he is going to deal with is. At the same time, because of the pressure that Vegeta brought to King Piccolo back then, Piccolo grew faster than Piccolo in other worlds. Just over a year after birth, it already has a combat power of over 300. In other worlds, Piccolo only reached a combat power of 3 when he was 322 years old. At this time, Piccolo was practicing in the sea next to the island. He was lurking in the sea, standing on the bottom with his eyes closed. The growth period of combat-type Namekians is very short, so at this moment, Piccolo's appearance is almost the same as the young great demon King Piccolo. He suddenly opened his eyes, and a ray of light suddenly appeared in his black pupils. The sea water in front of him seemed to boil instantly, and a large number of bubbles emerged. The next moment, a large section of the sea water in front of Piccolo disappeared out of thin air, revealing a bare area of seabed. It was not until Piccolo withdrew his momentum that the nearby sea water poured back in, causing huge waves. "My strength has surpassed my father's in his prime. It looks like in 2 years, I should be able to surpass that Vegeta." Piccolo crossed his arms across his chest, looking at the surging sea in front of him with a smug look on his face. But at this moment, Piccolo's expression suddenly changed. He raised his head, his eyes penetrating the sea water and looking at the sky. Above his head, he saw what seemed to be a human aircraft hovering in the sky. It was just a human aircraft, not scary, but Piccolo realized that there was a powerful existence in that aircraft. Piccolo's face was solemn as his body floated towards the surface of the sea. "Picker, I didn't expect you to grow up so fast." Vegeta walked out of the aircraft and floated in the air. "Vegeta?" Piccolo looked at the person above his head with a gloomy face. He didn't expect that his whereabouts were discovered by Vegeta. "Want to fight?" but at the moment, I haven't completed my training yet. Can I be a match for Vegeta? However, Piccolo, who claims to be the successor to the great Demon King, is also unwilling to miss this best opportunity for revenge. More than a year of hard practice has given him immense confidence. In addition, Vegeta's control over his Kai is no longer what it used to be. He usually suppresses his Kai at a very low level, which means that in Piccolo's opinion, even if Vegeta's strength is fully unleashed, his strength should not be very strong. But just as Piccolo's surging murderous intent burst out like a flood and he was ready to take action at any time, Sun Gohan suddenly stood in front of the aircraft's hatch, looked at Piccolo below and said, "Vegeta, is this the descendant of Lord Piccolo?" "Yeah, looks like he's planning to attack me," Vegeta said with an amused look on his face. Sun Gohan looked at Piccolo carefully for a while, and suddenly said to him, "Young Piccolo, are you going to attack Vegeta? What's wrong, human? Do you want to beg for mercy on his behalf?" "What?" Vegeta was about to speak but was stopped by Sun Gohan. "I'm not asking for mercy, but if you want to fight, can you go to a place called Papaya Island? The 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament is about to begin, and Vegeta will also participate. You can fight there. The world's no. One martial arts tournament. You want Vegeta to die there? That seems like a good suggestion. No problem, Vegeta. I'll be waiting for you there. And with your death, I'll announce to the world the return of Lord Piccolo." A sneer formed on Piccolo's lips, and he left immediately. After watching Piccolo leave, Vegeta flew back with a dissatisfied look on his face. "Son Gohan, why did you do that just now? I'm afraid you'll kill him." Son Gohan explained with a smile, "Although that guy is the descendant of Lord Piccolo, I can't sense any evil in him. Come to think of it, I think he's more like you. You are really getting old and confused. How can he be like me when he is a Nankian? I mean temperamentum." Vegeta waved his hand. "Forget it. I don't really plan on killing him anyway. Piccolo and God Piccolo are two beings with one life. If you kill Piccolo, God Piccolo will also die. Without the God Piccolo, there would be no more Dragon Balls on Earth." Chapter 53. The No. One martial arts tournament in the world. Papaya Island, the day when the 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament is held. In his previous life, Vegeta participated in the 27th Martial Arts Tournament. At that time, the venue of the martial arts conference had been moved to another place, so this was his first time to visit Papaya Island. Compared to his previous life, the martial arts competition at this time seemed quite different to Vegeta. Not only were there no age groups, there was no boring strength test either. Instead, a preliminary round that was close to actual combat was used to decide the places for the finals. That's pretty decent. After knowing the situation, Vegeta looked around and muttered to himself. Beside him, Bulma and Sun Gohan were looking at the lively scene around them with emotion on their faces. "This conference seems to be much more lively than the last one. I heard it was because of the final match between Krillin and Yamcha." According to them, the success of the 21st Martial Arts Tournament attracted more powerful people from Earth, especially the Crane Sunryu, which was once as famous as the Kame Sunryu, and they also sent their outstanding disciples this time. When Vegeta went to sign up, he saw Tain Shinhan and Gyoza, as well as Krillin and Yamcha, who were confronting them. Next to these four people, Hermit Roshi was arguing with Hermit Crane. "I didn't expect that an old man like you would come. Old pervert, I heard that your two disciples made quite a splash last time. But this time, with my disciples here, everyone will understand that the Crane Immortal School is the strongest school in the world." The Crane Hermit twirled his mustache and said with a sly smile. Master Roshi was originally angry, but after hearing his words he was happy. "That's not necessarily true. My two apprentices are now so capable that only one person on this earth can surpass them." "Are you talking about me?" Tain Shinhan smiled conceitedly. Master Roshi looked him up and down and shook his head. Kid, I think you do have some talent, but there are always people who are better than you. He was talking about me. Suddenly, a tall figure in a white cloak approached. The faint murderous intent emanating from him made people on both sides look solemn in an instant. This guy's eyes are so cold. Tine Shinhan muttered and suddenly saw that his master was trembling all over. Master, what's wrong with you? Old turtle, could this guy be? That's right. Master Roshi took off his hat and said, He's Piccolo. Master, is Piccolo the demon that wreaked havoc on the world 300 years ago? Tine Shinhan said in surprise, Why is he here? As soon as he finished speaking, Tine Shinhan suddenly noticed that Krillin and Yamcha next to him looked relaxed and even smiled when facing Piccolo. Oh, so you are the new student Piccolo? I didn't expect you to attend this conference. Yeah, I originally thought it would be another one-man show between Krillin and me. It looks like this competition will be very interesting. Piccolo swept his cold eyes over everyone with disdain on his face. Except for Vegeta, he looked down upon everyone here. Picker, you're here after all. At this moment, a voice made Piccolo feel like he was facing a formidable enemy, and he turned around suddenly. Then, everyone saw Vegeta walking towards them with his arms folded and a disdainful smile on his face. Vegeta, are you going to participate in the competition too? Krillin and Yamcha both widened their eyes. Their training in the Temple of Heaven was not over yet. They just came out temporarily to participate in this competition. I had wanted to use this conference to test the results of my training during this period, but I didn't expect Vegeta to come. Do you think I'm interested in this kind of competition? It was Sun Gohan who asked me to participate. Behind him, Sun Gohan came over with Bulma, smiling, and bowed to Master Roshi first. Master, I was the one who asked Vegeta to come and see this. If he doesn't come this time, I won't have a chance to persuade him in the future. Master Roshi frowned slightly. Gohan, could it be that the two spoke so quietly that no one around them noticed? Compared to Sun Gohan, everyone else's attention was still focused on Vegeta. Yamcha shrugged with a helpless look on his face, and said to Tine Shinhan and Gyauza, who were still unaware of the situation, It seems that it will be difficult for you two to even make it to the finals this time. I hope we have good luck and don't run into this monster. What? He is very powerful. He is also a disciple of your Kame Ryu? Tine Shinhan asked. I guess so. And he is the strongest disciple of our Kame Senryu. Tine Shinhan snorted coldly, obviously not believing it. That little dwarf. In the afternoon, the preliminary competition was held inside the martial arts hall. Although he didn't believe what Krillin and the others said, Tine Shinhan still asked Gyauza to tamper with the list of people out of caution. As a result, Krillin, Yamcha, Vegeta, and Piccolo were all divided into different groups and successfully passed the preliminaries. Among them, Vegeta and Piccolo showed unprecedented strength, and both of them defeated their opponents as soon as they took the stage. Lord Piccolo, he really lives up to his reputation. Because of the rule that he couldn't kill people, Piccolo's moves were extremely restrained, but from just one or two moves, Tine Shinhan could see Piccolo's powerful strength and amazing control. In comparison, Tine Shinhan really couldn't understand Vegeta, because from beginning to end, no one saw how Vegeta made his move. He just stood there and his opponent flew out of the ring. So much so that Tine Shinhan couldn't help but wonder, does Vegeta have superpowers like Gyauza? Only Master Roshi, holding up his sunglasses, said to Sun Gohan, who was standing beside him, Vegeta's strength is no longer in the same dimension as Krillin and the others. His movements are so fast that they are beyond the limits of everyone's perception. Gohan, what's the point of letting Vegeta participate in the competition when he's like this? Suddy, Sun Gohan smiled and said, Teacher, the weak also have their own way of survival. Although Vegeta and I have only been together for a year, I can still be considered half his master. I can no longer teach him anything about strength. So this time, I want to give him some final pointers on martial arts. Let him learn how to view himself, others, his opponents, and everything around him. Otherwise, Vegeta will probably continue to pursue power without limits and go astray in martial arts. After all, Sun Gohan said softly, strength is not just physical energy. Courage and righteousness are also part of strength. Master Roshi looked at Sun Gohan, who was mumbling to himself and couldn't help but sigh. Gohan, you have become a true martial arts master. Thank you, Master. Chapter 54, Sister Tais. Only 8 people can enter the finals of the world's #1 martial arts tournament. After a morning of preliminaries, Vegeta, Krillin, Tain Shinhan, Gyozzi, and others were all shortlisted. Although the other 2 players were also considered elites in the Earth's martial arts world, they were not worth mentioning compared to them. After the afternoon, the quarterfinals officially began. For Vegeta today, the so-called quarterfinals is just like a game between children. As an adult, he feels nothing but bored in it. But if you say there is no gain, that is not the case. Watch as Krillin uses his brain power to defeat the psychic dumpling who can't count. Watching the battle between Yamcha and Tain Shinhan, although Tain Shinhan was obviously weaker than Yamcha, he was able to save the situation with all kinds of strange tricks, and finally won by luck. Vegeta felt that he seemed to understand somewhat the purpose of Sun Gohan asking him to participate in this martial arts tournament. Finally, after Vegeta easily defeated Tain Shinhan and an opponent whose name he couldn't even remember, the final decisive battle took place between him and Krillin. Before this, Krillin, who had trained in the Temple of Heaven, had defeated Piccolo, who was just over 1 year old, with his absolute strength. Even though Piccolo used the trick of gigantic growth, he was still defeated by Krillin. Krillin, who defeated Piccolo, only lasted 5 minutes when facing Vegeta. During these 5 minutes, Vegeta did not use his full strength. Instead, he seemed to be using Krillin as a practice opponent. He used all the moves that Krillin, Yamcha, Tain Shinhan, and even Piccolo had used in previous matches before ending the match. This result was a heavy blow to Piccolo and Tain Shinhan, who had thought themselves invincible. Before this, Tain Shinhan had a conflict with Hermit Crane because he did not want Gyozzi to use his supernatural powers to interfere in the fight between them during the battle with Yamcha, and was expelled from the sect. After the game, he and Gyozzi became disciples of Master Roshi. Piccolo learned about the existence of the Celestial Temple through Sun Gohan. In order to defeat Vegeta, he decided to seek advice from his father's former enemy, the Celestial God Piccolo. The lively 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament came to an end. An airplane is flying over the sea. Inside the cabin, Bulma was dozing on the floor. Vegeta and Sun Gohan sat cross-legged on the ground, with 2 cups of hot tea made by Sun Gohan in front of them. Anyway, I did gain something from this martial arts tournament. At least I learned some of Krillin's moves. The only thing I can't learn is Piccolo's gigantic transformation. That should be the innate skill of Nankians, right? The strength of martial arts does not depend on physical strength. The strong are powerful, but the weak are not completely useless. Sun Gohan, there is some truth in what you said. Okay. When Vegeta said this, he suddenly saw Sun Gohan sitting there with his head down and his hands hanging. Sun Gohan? Old man. Vegeta called out several times before Sun Gohan woke up leisurely. Huh? What? Haha, I'm getting older and I'm not as energetic as I used to be. Old? Vegeta frowned, thinking. Sun Gohan laughed and said, Vegeta, I asked you to participate in this martial arts tournament because I want you to learn how to look at yourself, others, your opponents, and everything around you. You must remember from now on that strength is not just physical energy. Courage and righteousness will become part of your strength. Looking at Sun Gohan, who was teaching him earnestly, Vegeta suddenly opened his eyes wide and realized something. For a moment, his eyes were actually red. Sun Gohan, are you? Sun Gohan raised his hand, signaling Vegeta not to say it. He glanced at Bulma, who was still asleep, and said, Vegeta, tell me about your past life. I only heard some of it from my master before, but it wasn't detailed. I heard that you have been hiding things about Bulma's past life. Now that she is asleep, can you tell me about it? Okay. Vegeta nodded. In my original world, the Saiyan who came to Earth was not me, but a few hours later, the plane arrived at a small and remote island. This small island is where Bulma's sister Tais lives. Vegeta had never seen Bulma's sister, either in his previous life or in this life. He just heard that Tais was a woman with a stronger personality than Bulma, and she ran away from home early in order to write. Now she lives on a small island with an old man named Dr. Dasheng. The two people don't have any relationship between men and women. They are just friends regardless of age difference, and they became friends because of another alien from the universe. It's here. It's here. Bulma sat in the cabin, looking at the island below with excitement. Before coming, she had already spoken to her sister on the phone and told them that she would be coming. After flying around the island, the plane landed in front of a small house. Bulma. As soon as the three got off the plane, they saw two people running out of the cabin. One of the old men was naturally Dr. Dasheng, the owner of the island. The other girl with short golden hair is Bulma's sister Tais. After not seeing each other for a long time, Bulma opened her arms and ran towards Tais. Sister. Long time no see, Bulma. Taisi happily hugged her sister, and then looked at Sun Gohan beside her. Huh? Bulma, is he the Vegeta you've been talking about? Bulma, I didn't expect you like this type of guy. Shut up. This is Vegeta's master, Sun Gohan. The one next to him is him. Tais smiled and turned to Vegeta beside her. In fact, she had already recognized him and was just teasing her sister. I'm sorry, Vegeta-sane? Your tail, are you a Saiyan? Doctor. Dasheng next to him also looked at Vegeta's tail with surprise. Are you really a Saiyan? Are you the kid who came from outer space back then? Bulma looked curious. Have you seen my sister? More than just seeing him, I can't believe he has grown this big, Tais said in amazement. In the northern hemisphere, in a deserted wilderness, a figure walked out of a hidden cave. This man had a braided hair, wore a martial arts uniform, and had a faint evil smile on his face. Looking at the long-lost outside scenery, the figure took a deep breath. I haven't smelled fresh air in a long time. Vegeta, prepare to accept my wrath. Please wait a while. Behind the figure, an old man with a staggering gait ran out. Android 11, are you really going to kill Vegeta? Doctor. Jiro said that your body can still be strengthened. No need. I am now the strongest man on Earth. Doctor. Kurchin, just tell Jiro to open his eyes and see how I, who combined the skills of the three of us, killed Vegeta. Chapter 55 The World and 039's Strongest Master. The cries of seagulls drifted from the other side of the horizon, interweaving with the rhythm of the waves to form a natural symphony. From time to time, fish jumped out of the sea, breaking up the sparkling waves. They drew graceful arcs in the air and dived underwater again, leaving only ripples on the sea surface. The island where Dr. Dasheng lives is located in the southern sea. The climate here is always as warm as spring, and the 4 seasons are the same. It was already evening, and the clouds in the sky were like burning flames, dyeing the horizon golden. Amidst this beautiful scenery, Vegeta and his friends' barbecue party gradually reached its climax. Dr. Dasheng's specialty is the research in the field of time. There is even a time machine he once built on the island. Although this machine is now scrapped, it could only stop time for a few seconds at most. And now he has shown everyone another talent of his, which is barbecue. Vegeta alone ate more than 100 skewers of barbecue grilled by Professor Dasheng. This kid is really good at eating. Dr. Dasheng was almost dumbfounded. Yeah, he was able to eat before. Does he need my help? Sun Gohan said with a smile beside him. No, you are the guests, just let me do it. On the other side, Tais was drinking beer and looking at Vegeta curiously. The Saiyan's appetite is indeed as good as it is said to be. I was just about to ask, when have you seen me before? Vegeta stopped talking and asked curiously. He had wanted to ask Tais before why she seemed to have seen him before. That was several years ago, when you first came to Earth. At that time, a friend of mine was planning to kill you, friend? Yeah, his name is Jark and he's a galactic patrolman. Vegeta began to eat hastily and said disdainfully as he ate, Galactic Patrolman Jack. I seem to have some impression of him. Maybe he encountered him when I attacked a planet. Tais smiled and said, yes, when he saw it was you, he was shocked and immediately made an excuse to escape. But now it seems that you are not as scary as he said? Speaking of which, Tais glanced at Bulma who was eating nearby. Have you two kissed? How can it be? Bulma and Vegeta immediately retorted in unison. What? You guys aren't dating yet? Sister, aren't you married too? That's because writers are too busy. Tais coughed and changed the subject. So, what are you going to do next? There is one last Dragon Ball nearby. Let's take a rest tonight and find it tomorrow. Tais asked in surprise, Dragon Ball? She remembered the legend Bulma had mentioned and said in surprise, is there really such a thing? Dad mentioned it to me once, so your trip this time is to find the Dragon Ball that is said to make dreams come true? Yup. Bulma pulled out a bright orange Dragon Ball from her bag, held it in front of her sister and said, look, this is it. Although Tais had heard about it from her family, this was the first time she saw it. She took it and observed it with curiosity. It's so beautiful. Even Dr. Desheng came over and said, Dragon Balls that can fulfill any wish. This is too unrealistic. What wish do you plan to fulfill this time? Tais asked curiously. Vegeta wants to know the coordinates of a planet in the universe. Once we know it, we will take a spaceship there. To space? Tais' expression changed several times in an instant, and then she suddenly blinked and said, Bulma, I'll go with you too. Why? Aren't you still going to write a book? I've been running out of ideas lately. The book I wrote using Jake as the source material wasn't a big hit, so I asked him to take me to the universe to collect some inspiration. But this guy actually said he wanted to accompany his girlfriend, Tais said halfway through her sentence with a sly smile on her face. You wouldn't be unwilling, would you? Are you afraid that I'll disturb your and Vegeta's world of two? No, I'm not. If you want to go, just go. Suddenly, Bulma stared into the distance in a daze. Vegeta, what's coming? Could it be Jake? Dr. Desheng and the others also looked over. However, what was flying over was not a spaceship, but a human figure. As the figure approached rapidly, he soon appeared in front of everyone. Vegeta took the last bite of the skewer, his face wary. The guy who came was a little strange, and I couldn't even sense any breath. Vegeta can only remember one situation where he could fly in the sky but not feel any breath. Artificial human. Finally, I see you, Vegeta. Vegeta was a little surprised to hear the person calling out his name. You know me. Of course, although we have never met face to face, I have always remembered your appearance in my heart. At this moment, Sun Gohan suddenly seemed to remember something and asked in surprise, You are the world's #1 killer Tao Pai Pai? Tao Pai Pai? Who? Vegeta remembered that he should have heard this name in the memory of the fusion of souls. But to Vegeta, he was just a killer on Earth, and even if he had heard of him, he would not deliberately remember him. However, Dr. Desheng and Tais seemed to be familiar with this name. Tao Pai Pai. He is Tao Pai Pai? Vegeta, when did you provoke this guy? I'm sorry, you got the wrong person. The other person shook the long braid in front of her chest. This body is indeed Tao Pai Pai's, but the one standing in front of you now is not the once #1 killer in the world. It's me, Doctor. Willow. Wow wow, a crow suddenly flew from the sky, breaking the silence at the scene. Doctor. Willow. Who is that? Vegeta was speechless. Tais and the others looked at each other, completely confused. Who? Do you know him? I don't know, I've never heard of this name. Only Doctor. Dasheng suddenly shouted, I remember. Doctor. Willow, wasn't he a famous genius doctor in the past? Do not know, never heard of that. Who is it? Hateful. Doctor. Willow suddenly yelled, and the anger level on his face was visibly reaching its limit. Vegeta. You actually forgot about me. I have never forgotten the hatred we had. If it weren't for you, I would have used the kingdom of Giramanth to rule the world. Ah, the kingdom of Giramanth, Bulma exclaimed, finally remembering. Vegeta, he is the same doctor. Willow who controlled the kingdom of Giramanth. Giramanth Kingdom? When did this happen? It was from the first time we went looking for the Dragon Balls. Seeing that Vegeta still had a puzzled look on his face, Doctor. Willow was extremely angry, but suddenly he was no longer angry. Forget it. It doesn't matter if you have forgotten what happened back then. You will die in my hands today. Vegeta understood this. He smiled disdainfully and said, Just you? Humph. Doctor. Willow raised the corner of his mouth. Of course. In order to beat you, I have studied hard for many years and finally completed this strongest body in the world. The body you see now comes from Tao Pai Pai, the strongest killer in the world back then. I transplanted my brain into this body and then used my biochemical technology to strengthen it. With a little help from others now, I am already the strongest master in the world. Chapter 56. Vegeta burst out with all his strength. Ha ha ha. The strongest master in the world. Before Vegeta could say anything, Bulma's laughter was heard nearby. What kind of expert are you? Can you beat the great demon King Piccolo? Can you beat Krillin and the others? Vegeta just won the world's #1 martial arts tournament. Doctor. Willow, now with a pale face, turned his head and looked at her, his eyes shooting a cold and ruthless look. You little girl who knows nothing. The world's best martial arts tournament is nothing but a game for the weak. If I want to, I can kill those people you mentioned in a second. As for Vegeta, you are indeed powerful, but I have done enough research for you. Now my power is much stronger than yours. Oh. Vegeta raised the corner of his mouth slightly. Sun Gohan, please take Bulma and the others away. I'm going to try and see if he's really as strong as he says. You are such a fool, just open your eyes and see for yourself. As soon as he finished speaking, Tao Bai left a trail of afterimage on the spot. The speed was so fast that Vegeta didn't even have time to react before he was kicked away. What? Vegeta didn't expect the opponent to be so fast. He was stunned and hurriedly adjusted his body in midair. However, when he looked at the ground, Dr. Willow had disappeared. Behind you? Vegeta heard the movement behind him and immediately turned over and kicked, but was blocked by Dr. Willow's palm. Vegeta, did you use too much strength? Doctor? Willow asked sarcastically. Vegeta said nothing and rained punches at him. For a while, crackling sounds of fighting were heard in the sky. The speed of the two was far beyond what Bulma and the others could capture with the naked eye. Bulma had no choice but to ask Sun Gohan for help. Grandpa Gohan, how are they? In fact, Sun Gohan couldn't see the movements of the two people clearly, but he had already mastered the technique of sensing Kai and was able to use Kai to detect some of Vegeta's movements. This Dr. Willow isn't exaggerating. He seems to be fighting on equal terms with Vegeta. What? Everyone was shocked when they heard this. Equally matched. My strength is far superior to his. Doctor. Willow's voice suddenly sounded in the sky, and the next moment, everyone saw Vegeta being knocked to the ground. Just as Vegeta was about to get up from the ground, Dr. Willow followed him and kicked him to the ground again. Then he clenched his palm like a knife and kept stabbing him hard. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of the blows was like a torrential rain, and Vegeta was powerless to resist for a moment. Bulma. Why does Vegeta keep getting beaten? Impossible. Bulma looked at the scene in disbelief. The last time Vegeta was in such an embarrassing situation was because he was caught by someone due to his tail weakness. But now Vegeta's tail has not been caught, and Professor Willow has crushed him purely by relying on his strength. Bang, bang, bang. Vegeta seemed to want to avoid the attack temporarily and began to retreat, but Professor Willow, who had already gained the upper hand, took advantage of the situation and pursued him, hitting him as he went along. For a moment, blood splattered all over Vegeta's side and he cried out in pain. But just when Dr. Willow looked very proud, his fist suddenly pierced through Vegeta's body. After a midge fist, Sun Gohan exclaimed, recognizing the secret technique of the Kame-Ryu. Where have you gone, Doctor? Willow was also surprised, but the energy radar in his eyes quickly captured where Vegeta was going, and he turned around and looked behind him. Then he actually saw that Vegeta put his hands together beside his face, and a purple ball of light had condensed in his palms. Gallic Cannon. With a roar, a purple beam of light pushed towards Dr. Willow. It's useless, it's useless, it's useless. Doctor. Willow roared wildly, his whole body tensed up, and his hands suddenly danced rapidly in front of him, forming a hand seal. He actually planned to confront Vegeta's Gallic Cannon head-on. Drink. The Gallic Cannon that was about to hit suddenly stopped in front of Dr. Willow, just like a poisonous snake that was caught by someone's vital points and could not move forward for a while. The next moment, the Gallic Cannon was pushed back by Professor Willow and fired towards Vegeta instead. In an instant, Vegeta's figure was engulfed by the purple light column. How could it be? Tais and Dr. Dasheng were both stunned, and Bulma was almost crying. Vegeta is fine, Sun Gohan whispered. Sure enough, when the light faded, Vegeta, covered in scars and gasping for breath, appeared in everyone's sight. That's great. Bulma's sadness turned into joy. Vegeta slowly landed on the ground, glanced at his tattered clothes, and there was a fighting spirit in his eyes that had not appeared for a long time. It seems that you are right. If it weren't for me, you would indeed be the strongest person on Earth now. Vegeta was truly shocked. Because he couldn't sense Dr. Willow's aura, Vegeta had been unable to judge the other party's strength. But after the fight just now, he had a general understanding. Judging by the combat power system of Frieza's army, Professor Willow's combat power is probably over 2, between 2 and 3. This combat power is unmatched on Earth, whether in this world or in other worlds of the same period. Even if he were placed in Frieza's army, he would be an elite warrior. No wonder he was so arrogant and said that even facing Krillin and the others would only take a second. Haha, Vegeta, you're really good at talking. I know your strength very well. My energy is far superior to yours now. Above me? What right do you have to say that? I have never used my full strength in the past year. Okay, Doctor. Willow was stunned. Then he thought Vegeta was bluffing, because during these years, Vegeta's every move was under their surveillance. From when Vegeta started training in Kame Senryu to when he later went to Galenta. However, when he went to the Temple of Heaven, for some unknown reason, the micro-robot that was tracking Vegeta lost control when it approached the Temple of Heaven and became unable to track him. But according to the data obtained before, although they didn't know what kind of training Vegeta went through in the Temple of Heaven, they could still calculate the approximate increase in strength. The final result is that even if Vegeta's strength has improved, he is still inferior to Dr. Willow. Thinking of this, Dr. Willow sneered and said, "Then try your best and see. I would have done it without you telling me." Vegeta slowly stood up, stepped out of the pit with his feet, put his hands on his waist, and shouted softly as a bright white aura burst out. Chapter 57. Vegeta gets angry. Beep beep beep. Doctor. Willow has energy detection devices installed in his eyes. When Vegeta's aura was revealed, the device suddenly emitted a continuous alarm. Just one glance and Dr. Willow was stunned. Somewhere far away, Dr. Gallo and Dr. Kirkin, who were observing the scene through Dr. Willow's eyes, were also dumbfounded. On the energy detection device in front of them, Vegeta's energy was rapidly increasing, and soon surpassed Dr. Willow's maximum energy. Finally, they saw that the energy level remained at twice Dr. Willow's maximum energy. How is this possible? How can Vegeta's energy be so high? Doctor. Jiro said in horror. Oh no, we misjudged Vegeta. Doctor. Willow, run away. Doctor. Tekken rushed to the control console and warned through the communicator. Impossible. Impossible. A drop of cold sweat rolled down Dr. Willow's face. He thought the energy detector must be malfunctioning. Otherwise, how could Vegeta's energy level increase so much more than they expected? Damn Dr. Gallo. Doctor. Willow cursed inwardly. The energy detector was not designed by him and Dr. Kirkin, but by Dr. Gallo. That year, Dr. Hacken met him by chance with the dying Dr. Willow. Out of the same anger towards Vegeta, the three of them gathered together to develop android technology. But compared to Dr. Gallo, who prefers to use the human body for transformation and directly create mechanical bodies, Dr. Willow hopes to directly create the ultimate life form through biochemical technology. So privately, the two of them looked down on each other. Now Dr. Willow believes that there must be something wrong with Dr. Gallo's equipment. Didn't you say you used all your strength? Then take my move and see. Doctor. Willow shouted softly and pointed his finger in Vegeta's direction. At that moment, Dr. Willow's energy reserves were directly reduced by 30%. Dong wave. Maximum power. Just as a blood-red energy ray was about to be emitted, Vegeta suddenly seemed to have thought of something and jumped up on the spot. You can't escape, Doctor. Willow followed Vegeta's finger, and the terrifying energy condensed into a ray of light, which instantly shot towards Vegeta in midair and completely engulfed him in an instant. The explosion followed immediately, and a mushroom cloud rose in the air with a boom. The impact spread to the ground along with the vibration, and the aftermath alone turned Dr. Desheng's island into a devastated place. However, when the flames faded, Vegeta was found standing in midair, his body intact. How is it possible that you are fine after eating my dong bo? Because I dodged just now because I didn't want you to destroy the island. Vegeta sneered. Doctor. Willow was stunned for a moment, but he glanced slightly in Bulma's direction and came up with another plan. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Doctor. Willow suddenly knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Vegeta to admit his mistake. Please forgive me. I will never do bad things again. What? Vegeta frowned, having never expected the other party to do this. Get up. Vegeta had a look of disgust on his face. He could kill his enemies without mercy. But killing a clown who was kneeling down and begging for mercy would simply dirty one's hands. Please, spare me, Doctor. Willow had no intention of standing up, and his head kept banging against the wall. Vegeta landed on the ground impatiently and opened his 5 fingers towards Dr. Willow. Even if you beg for mercy, I won't let you go. Then just take a look at this move. Doctor. Willow suddenly jumped up on the spot and put his hands in a special posture. Spread your 5 fingers and face the back of your hand forward. Oops. Vegeta recognized the move and tried to close his eyes, but it seemed too late. Sun Fist. A strong light like the sun instantly pierced into Vegeta's eyes, penetrating into his eyes which were still open. The burning sensation instantly made him lose his sight. Ha 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 ha. When Vegeta opened his eyes, he immediately heard Dr. Willow's wild laughter. Vegeta, don't move. If you move, I will kill this woman. Doctor. Willow took Bulma away from Sun Gohan at some point and put his skinny arm around Bulma's neck. Bulma. Vegeta yelled, only to see Dr. Willow holding a finger to Bulma's temple. Don't move. I'm warning you one last time. If you move, I'll kill this woman. Seeing that Vegeta really didn't move, Dr. Willow sneered. Vegeta, you really like this woman, just as the intelligence said, right? What? Bulma was startled. Vegeta's face turned red, and he was so angry that he ignored Bulma and pointed directly at Professor Willow. Stab it. The arm that Dr. Willow had raised to Bulma's temple instantly shattered into pieces. How is this possible? Doctor. Willow lost an arm in an instant and his body trembled. He should have felt nothing, but now he felt a little cold. Because of that attack just now, he was convinced that Vegeta really had the power to kill him instantly. Don't you care about this woman's life? Doctor. Willow exclaimed, but the next moment he heard Vegeta's voice in his ears. With me here, what can you do to her? Stab it. Vegeta appeared behind Dr. Willow without knowing when, and crushed his other hand that was holding Bulma. I won't die here. Doctor. Willow yelled and suddenly jumped up on the spot, trying to escape from the island. Vegeta grinned, threw Bulma to Sun Gohan first, and then a ball of energy visible to the naked eye flashed all over his body. This energy was like a volcano ready to erupt, turning all the rocks around Vegeta into powder. Immediately, the volcano erupted and a column of blue light shot up into the sky. Beep, beep, beep. Hearing the alarm in his mind, Dr. Willow lowered his head, with a dazzling light reflected in his eyes. Do not. Doctor. Willow cried out hysterically. He finally realized how wrong he was this time. The three of them greatly underestimated Vegeta's growth rate. Before he died, Dr. Willow regretted everything. If only he could listen to Dr. Gallo's advice and continue to increase his energy before setting off this time. Unfortunately, it was already too late. Vegeta, I won't let you go in hell. Boom! A huge beam of light swallowed Dr. Willow whole. First his body was shattered and then a brain protected by a glass cover appeared in the beam of light. Then, the glass cover cracked and Dr. Willow's brain completely evaporated in the beam of light. The signal of No. 11 has disappeared. Far away, deep underground, Dr. Tekken had a sad look on his face. Doctor. Gallo beside him seemed to have expected this outcome. I knew it would be like this. It turns out that the limit of human body modification is too low. Only pure machinery is the right way. Doctor. Tekken immediately retorted, no. Pure machinery is the evil way. Biochemical transformation is the right way. Doctor. Gallo's strength is mechanical technology, while Dr. Kirchen inherited Dr. Willow's biochemical technology. Deep underground, unknown to the world, the two had a heated debate on the future development of artificial humans. Chapter 58. Passing away, the final guidance. Died Vegeta stared up into the sky, and only returned to Bulma and the others after confirming that this Professor Willow did not have any remaining body parts. Seeing Vegeta coming back, Tais pushed her sister with a smirk. Bulma, your hero is back. Bulma suddenly looked shy. Although she was in crisis just now, Dr. Willow's words seemed to have broken the window paper between her and Vegeta. When Bulma thought of Vegeta getting angry because of her, she felt that it was time for her to confess her feelings to Vegeta. Bulma also knew that Vegeta always liked to be tough. If she didn't take the initiative, he might never speak again in his life. Vegeta Bulma, couldn't you be more careful just now? Is this the nth time I have saved you? Bulma was about to speak when she heard Vegeta scolding her. She was originally shy, but suddenly became angry. Hey, it's not my fault. What do you mean it's not your fault? Aren't you going to go to space with me? I beg you to at least consider me. Who has to protect you from now on? Eh? Bulma's face suddenly turned red again. Vegeta, are you proposing to me? What? Vegeta was startled and said quickly, wait a minute, okay. Then I'll promise you. Bulma gave an okay sign. Tais on the side also immediately joined in the fun. Congratulations, Bulma. Wait a moment. Vegeta saw the two women talking to themselves and suddenly yelled. Bulma, you're overthinking it. I never thought of marrying you. Tais glared at him and said, Vegeta, I've heard from my sister that you are a stubborn guy, but now it has come to this. Why don't you stop being stubborn? I'm serious. I never liked her. Vegeta shouted. The scene immediately became quiet. Vegeta, you're an idiot. Bulma ran away with red eyes. Tais glanced at Vegeta with a resentful look, then went to chase after her sister. Vegeta did not chase after him, but turned around and flew to the highest cliff on the island. Suddenly, the only two old men left at the scene were Professor Desheng and Sun Gohan. The emotions of young people nowadays I don't understand. Doctor. Desheng sighed, but saw Sun Gohan walking in the direction that Bulma and the others had left. Do you want to persuade Bulma? Yeah, after all, I am at least half-grandfather of Vegeta. Sun Gohan smiled, waved, and left. Doctor. Desheng looked at his back and seemed to have sensed something vaguely. At the only pier on the island, Bulma was sitting on the shore, crying her eyes out. Tais had never seen her sister so sad, so she tried her best to comfort her, but the effect was obviously not good. Just when Tais was at a loss, Sun Gohan appeared beside them. Grandpa Gohan? Let me do it. Sun Gohan walked over to Bulma and sat down cross-legged with great effort. Bulma, as soon as he opened his mouth, Bulma stopped crying and said, Grandpa Gohan, you don't have to speak well of that guy Vegeta. Sun Gohan chuckled. I'm not here to speak well of him. I just came here to tell you a story. Yes, that is a distant world different from ours on the highest cliff of the island. Vegeta stared at the sea in front of him, which was dyed golden by the setting sun. He actually knew what a stupid thing he had just done. But Vegeta kept reminding himself that Bulma was not his wife Bulma. His true love is still waiting for him in the original world. So even though he knew Bulma's feelings for him, Vegeta had always deliberately ignored them. Unexpectedly, the relationship between the two was exposed today because of the appearance of Dr. Willow. Now Vegeta doesn't know what to do. Maybe next I will go into the universe alone. Vegeta looked into the distance with an unfocused look in his eyes, and suddenly he realized that Sun Gohan's aura appeared behind him. He turned around and saw Sun Gohan standing behind him, panting. Sun Gohan, what's wrong? Vegeta, are you okay? Of course I'm fine if you're trying to persuade me to look for Bulma. I refuse. I'm not. Sun Gohan waved his hand and sat down next to him. Vegeta, I'm here to continue listening to the story. Can you continue what you didn't finish last time? On the way to this island, Vegeta once told Sun Gohan the story of his world. However, the story was temporarily interrupted when it came to Majin Buu because they reached their destination. Now listening to Sun Gohan's request, Vegeta nodded and said, okay. He thought about where he left off last time and then continued. The sun sank into the sea and the moon slowly rose. As countless stars twinkled above their heads, Vegeta's story ended with him traveling to this world. The rest is what you know. It's a hopeless world. Sun Gohan said with a serious expression, no wonder you wanted to accept my training at that time. Is this all because you wanted to follow in Son Goku's footsteps? That's right. Vegeta nodded. Sun Gohan pondered for a moment and replied, Vegeta, I understand your idea. but I think that even if you really do everything you want to do, you may still not be able to defeat Son Goku. Why? Vegeta asked with a frown. Because you don't have a correct goal yet. The motivation that drives you to become stronger now is to surpass Sun Wukong. When you set others as your goal, this goal will eventually reach the end, but from what I heard from your description, Sun Wukong's goal is always to surpass himself. People's potential is greatest when they aim to surpass themselves. In this respect, you are still no match for him. Vegeta listened quietly. He found that Son Gohan's words gave him a sense of sudden enlightenment. Vegeta, I believe your talent is no worse than Son Goku's. It's just that you've taken the wrong path. Now you can live your life again. Don't make the same mistakes as before. Vegeta suddenly opened his eyes wide and clenched his fists. Son Gohan, do you have enough time yet? So let me talk for a moment. Vegeta closed his mouth. Vegeta, Bulma, I've already told him about you. Son Gohan. Vegeta was about to speak, but Son Gohan signaled him not to interrupt him. Everyone knows Bulma's feelings for you, but I can understand that. After all, she is not the same person as your wife. So it's better for her to know some things. Since you can't speak, let me speak for you. Thank you, Son Gohan. No need to thank me. If you want to thank me, just promise me one thing. Son Gohan held Vegeta's hand and patted the back of his hand gently. That child named Son Goku, since I adopted him in another world, he should also be a kind child, just like you, Vegeta. Promise me that if you have the chance, you must save that Son Goku. I promise you, Grandpa. Vegeta said, holding back his emotions. Son Gohan nodded, closed his eyes with a smile, and then stopped breathing under Vegeta's gaze. Chapter 59. Flying into the Universe. Son Gohan was born in 658 AE. He was 94 years old at that time. As a human being, he has reached the limit of his lifespan as he has not drunk the water of immortality like his Master Roshi. It was because he realized that his death was approaching that he found Vegeta and spent the last part of his life with him. Vegeta had only just realized this before arriving on this island. It was not until he saw Son Gohan die that he was completely convinced. And Bulma and the others seemed to have found out just now. When the two sisters saw Vegeta coming back with Son Gohan's body, tears immediately fell from their faces. Doctor. Dasheng looked sad. He is also old and will soon follow in Son Gohan's footsteps. But he felt that Son Gohan was very lucky because he had no regrets before he died. That night, everyone held a simple funeral for Son Gohan and buried him on the island. Saiyans do not have the custom of funerals, and in the original world, Vegeta has never attended a funeral. So this is the first time in his life. He could understand why Bulma and the others buried Son Gohan in the ground, but he could not understand why they erected a tombstone with Son Gohan's name engraved on it on the ground. He just stood there without saying a word. Grandpa Gohan is such a good man, he will definitely go to heaven. Bulma whispered softly. Because of Son Gohan, she has recovered from her previous anger towards Vegeta. Although this does not mean that she has forgiven Vegeta, it does not stop her from wanting to comfort him. He will definitely go to heaven. In his previous life, Vegeta had been to hell once, so he knew what happened after people died in this world. With Son Gohan's personality, he believed that the other party would definitely go to heaven. Vegeta, maybe we can also use the Dragon Balls to revive Grandpa Son Gohan. It's useless. Dragon Balls cannot revive humans who died of natural causes. Hearing his words, Bulma did not refute. She didn't understand why Vegeta seemed to know everything before, but now she knows that Vegeta is actually a time traveler from another world. The next day, Vegeta found the last Dragon Ball from the nearby sea. Well, now that we have gathered all 7 Dragon Balls, let's get started. Tais, who witnessed the summoning of a dragon for the first time, was extremely excited about the upcoming ceremony. As a scientist, doctor, Dasheng is also extremely curious about what this legendary dragon is. In his words, dragons and the like are too unscientific, right? Puff, puff, puff. Bulma poured the 6 dragon balls she had collected onto the beach. Then Vegeta threw the last dragon ball aside, and immediately the 7 dragon balls shone in harmony. I'll come, I'll come. Tais, who had already asked her sister how to summon the dragon, walked forward with great interest. With a hint of nervousness, she shouted, "Come out a hum." Boom! The 3 people around him all fell to the ground. Because of nervousness, Tai's voice broke. After coughing twice, Tais shouted again, "Come out, dragon." As soon as the words fell, there was a loud bang. A strange force enveloped the earth. For a moment, the sun disappeared no matter where it was on the earth. Krillin and Yamcha, who had returned to the temple of the gods and were starting to practice again, both raised their heads. It seems that Vegeta has found all the dragon balls. In a corner of the celestial temple square, Piccolo, who was practicing meditation, only opened his eyes slightly, then snorted coldly and closed his eyes again. On Kame Island, Tine Shinhan and Gyoza were looking at the sky in surprise, not knowing what was going on. On the small island, 7 dragon balls emitted a golden light and soared into the sky. Soon the light dissipated and the green dragon reappeared. To those who have collected all 7 dragon balls, tell me your wish no matter what it is. I can fulfill one for you. Tais tilted her neck back and almost fell down. Doctor. Dasheng opened his mouth wide, as if he could hardly believe what he saw. Vegeta. Bulma put a hand on Vegeta's shoulder. Okay. Would you like to try it? When Vegeta didn't answer, Bulma winked at her sister, who said, Shenlong, please revive Sun Gohan. I can't fulfill this wish. People who die of natural causes cannot be resurrected. Bulma immediately looked regretful. Then can you make Vegeta the number 1 in the universe? That's impossible. What? No matter what your wish is, I can make it come true for you. It turns out that dragons can also lie. If the dragon could make expressions, it would probably look ashamed right now. Fortunately, the Bulma sisters did not continue to embarrass it and soon told it their true wishes. Shenlong, please tell us the coordinates of the planet Yadrat. This wish is very simple. The scarlet dragon's eyes glowed, and an invisible force instantly descended upon everyone present. The next moment, not only Vegeta and Bulma, but also Professor Dasheng and Tais had the coordinate information of a planet in their minds. It felt as if someone had directly modified their memory. Amazing! How could such a thing happen in the world? Your wish has come true. So goodbye. The golden light enveloped the dragon once again, transforming it into 7 dragon balls that flew towards various parts of the world. Half a day later, Vegeta and the other 2 were ready to set off into space. The spacecraft that was put into the universal capsule has been placed on the ground. This spaceship was modified from the spaceship from Tui that Vegeta had stolen. But after improvements made by Bulma and Dr. Brief, father and daughter, the speed of the spacecraft is much faster than before, and it may only take 1 month to reach Yadrat. In fact, the speed could be even faster, but Vegeta hoped to give him more time to practice on the spaceship. In addition to speed, the modified spacecraft also has a special gravity chamber for Vegeta to practice. Goodbye everyone. Doctor. Dasheng waved goodbye to everyone outside the spaceship. In fact, Bulma also invited him, but was rejected. Doctor. Dasheng knew that he was too old to continue struggling in the universe. But like Sun Gohan, he now has no regrets. The hatch is closed. The huge spacecraft rose into space like a meteor. On the spaceship, Bulma, who was entering the universe for the first time, pulled her sister and looked out the window curiously. Vegeta turned around and looked at the Earth, which was gradually getting smaller. Since I came here, 4 years have passed in the blink of an eye. Now, he is finally heading into space. Bulma, it won't be long, I'll be back. Vegeta clenched his fists and walked towards the gravity room with a determined look. Bulma, who was chatting and laughing with Tais, quietly turned her head and looked at Vegeta, who was leaving, and her eyes seemed to have made a decision. Chapter 60 Mutated S Cells. In the vast universe, the stars are like scattered diamonds dotted on the dark sky. In this sea of stars, a spaceship streaked across the sky. Its metal shell reflects the light of distant stars, like a giant silver fish swimming in the galaxy. Inside the spaceship, Vegeta is training in the gravity room. Only a few days had passed since he left Earth, and he had already turned the gravity up to 50 times. Then, under this gravity, boring internal and combat training were carried out. Since coming to Earth, Vegeta has never performed such high-intensity strength training. Every time I train, I get hurt all over. Sometimes, if you are not careful, you may even end up half dead. Fortunately, Vegeta had the senzu beans that he had taken away from Gilinta. Once seriously injured, take one immediately to revive with full health. It has to be said that this kind of gravity training, which is similar to self-harm, is indeed very effective in improving strength in a short period of time. In just a few days, Vegeta could feel that his strength had made a new leap. If evaluated by combat effectiveness, it may have exceeded the 10 mark. With such obvious training effects, it is no wonder that he was particularly obsessed with this kind of practice in his previous life. But now Vegeta is also very clear that gravity training has its limits, and blindly squeezing may have obvious effects in a short period of time. But in the long run, it will make practitioners become prisoners of power, forgetting that power is only a part of strength. In addition to the body, the cultivation of the mind, spirit, and even skills is equally important. Therefore, Vegeta was very restrained this time when it came to gravity training. He strictly follows the Kame Senryu's practice methods in his daily practice plan. After half a day of practice, they would take a break at noon, and then continue gravity practice for 2 hours. After that, I meditate until 6 o'clock in the evening, and then I completely stop practicing for the day. Practice well and rest well. Kame Sensei's training principles are being imprinted into Vegeta's heart and become his training principles. While Vegeta was busy training, Bulma and Tais also had their own things to do. Tais was busy writing every day, while Bulma was immersed in experiments. Apart from the gravity room and bedroom, the largest area on the spaceship is Bulma's private laboratory. She moved all her experimental equipment in and continued her research on the spacecraft. That day, Tais watched Vegeta's training through the glass for a while. In the gravity room, Vegeta was basically only wearing a pair of pants and was barefoot. The strong muscles made Tais blush. Oh my, Vegeta's muscles are really nice looking. The new work this time is decided to be you, the Prince of Revenge who travels across the world. You will definitely be much more popular than some useless galactic patrolman. Somewhere in the galaxy, a galactic patrolman who looked like Ultraman suddenly sneezed. After watching Vegeta's training for a while, Tais used her little hands to dissipate the heat from her face and then came to her sister's side. The originally spacious room has now turned into a jungle of instruments. Tais turned around and found her sister typing away on the computer. Bulma, what are you doing? Tais came to the side with a smile, and when she saw the graphics on the screen, she was suddenly surprised. Is this Vegeta? On the computer in front of Bulma, a human body perspective image of Vegeta was displayed. In the perspective view, you can see a lot of golden red dots, almost covering Vegeta's entire body. You're studying Vegeta? He asked me to research this. Vegeta said that there is a special cell in the Saiyan's body that can make him stronger. I am studying the properties of this cell. I remember that you were only interested in electronics and physics before. I didn't expect that for Vegeta, you even studied biology. Bulma stopped what she was doing and said, somewhat impatiently, Sis, aren't you going to write a new book? Don't you have anything else to do? Oh, did I get it right? Tais touched her sister's head with sympathy. Poor Bulma, she fell in love with that boy. but unfortunately he traveled through time and space, and he loves you from another time and space. But don't worry, one day, he will feel your heart. Really? Bulma's eyes lit up for a second, then dimmed again. Forget it. What he wants most is to become stronger and go back. I am doing this now just to help the me in the other world. Just then, they both heard the footsteps of another person at the same time. The third person on the spaceship was naturally Vegeta. Sure enough, a moment later, Vegeta, with steam coming out of his head and wearing only a training suit, walked over. Bulma, you said this morning that there was progress in your research. What progress? Bulma's expression suddenly turned serious. She typed a few times on the keyboard and said, I have studied the strands of hair you gave me last time. They are indeed Saiyan hair, but I found that there seems to be something wrong with the S cells in this strand of hair. Is there something wrong with the S cells? Vegeta frowned. Previously, during his training in the Temple of Heaven, he accidentally got a strand of Broly's hair that seemed to come from an illusion. Because he didn't know if the hair was real, he gave it to Bulma for research. Look. Bulma tapped the keyboard lightly, and then the 3D graphic of Vegeta on the screen turned into a slice photo of two cells. The one on the left is the S cell I extracted from your body, and the one on the right is the S cell from the hair you gave me. Let me first state the conclusion. This S cell can store more energy than your S cells. If your S cells are called S cells, then this kind of S cell is a Super S cell. Super S cell. Vegeta nodded. He knew that S cells were the basis for the Super Saiyan transformation. Broly's transformation is obviously different from theirs. It seems that the problem lies in the difference in the S cells on both sides. The legendary Super Saiyan in the Saiyan national mythology should actually refer to Broly from another time and space. By the way, Vegeta, I also found this kind of Super S cell in your body. What? I have it in my body too? Yes, but the number of Super S cells in your body is very small. Maybe only 100 out of 1 S cells is a Super S cell. If it weren't for the Super S cells extracted from your hair, I might not have noticed that this kind of Super S cell exists in your body's S cells. Alright, legends, that's it for today. If you're ready for the next chapter, smash that like button and flood the comments right now. Remember, we've got 3 days to prove this story needs to continue. Subscribe so you don't miss the drop, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.